glad that it's like only taken 24 hours afterwards for people to say BAFTA's so white. Uh oh. Owen's muted. Oh, that's a bit concerning. Oh God. Hold on. I'm guessing it has to be on Owen's end. Just to be on the safe side. Hang on, we'll transition back to Donkey. Let me update Discord in case that's somehow doing it. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Shouldn't take too long. Yep, there we go. Let me change region. Let me do that. Let me do that. And 3, 2, 1. We're back in the room.
Good Lord. Can't be a podcast without some sort of technical glitch.
I didn't think it.
But we can hear
I
you
can
now.
do stuff with the Discord update and it works perfectly fine. Oh wait, what's happened to my? Oh great. There we go. I didn't realise it was just turn off the camera when I restarted Discord.
Of course it does.
Being a bitch.
Has to be difficult. Good Lord. Yeah, I got a lot to talk about. And it looks like, yeah, I can vouch for that without us saying anything further. We've been getting messages since 5:13.
Nice.
So I think we're going to cut it at 7. Get all your questions in before 7 because this is, I'm getting, there's a lot of things that are in here already. I'm trying to keep up on everything and keep them all in a notepad, but sometimes the chat goes faster than I can. Actually, it's not saying much. Hi, friends. Welcome. 3rd in a row. Popcast here on the Popcast Network of the week. Pop the question. This is our, I guess you could call it a bi-weekly. Sometimes it's weekly. Just depends on the way the schedule flows. Show where we answer your questions. So yeah, the May 1st edition is going to be completely different than this Pop the Question. Like I said before, and I keep saying, and I'm going to continue to say so, that is not a traditional Pop the Question show. You'll get your chance to ask your questions before that. But May 1st, we're going to talk about the history of the channel, things like that. 10 years, like I said, it's a completely fair game if we've ever discussed it on here in any way, shape, or form. Welcome. My name is Owen. Joining me, as always, we have AJ. Indeed. We have Chris. Close enough. And Ashley.
We live in a world. I don't know where I was going with that. I just wanted to say it. I don't know.
So yeah, lots to get into here on Pop the Question. And of course, not the last time you will see AJ and Ashley this week, because to, I guess you could say, end the week or start the week, depending on how you look at it, how your work schedule flows or your school schedule. They're back on Sunday for talking about the winners of DGA, as well as
PGA.
recapping SAG.
PGA. The golf.
I don't care anymore. Either way, I keep messing things up. It's fine. It's what I do. So yeah, PGA and SAG. So that's going to be on Sunday.
It's still weird that like two of the ceremonies that were sort of, at least for UK audiences, behind sort of major international paywalls, are now just gonna be on YouTube this time around, and are gonna be the most accessible that they've ever been.
And of course, that leads us to speaking of award ceremonies, our second to last be the Spirit Awards, and that's going to be on Monday. And then we got another QA show next week to literally end February. So all that and more coming up. So yeah, I want to get in a chat because if I don't, we're gonna get behind. So Brian chimes in. The final 2010s I've watched: Invisible War, completing documentary; A Better Life, 2011; and The Sessions, completing 2012, and also his Oscar movie marathon of the 2010s that I missed or watched the first time. Interesting. After seeing A Better Life, Clooney should have won actor for The Descendants. After Sessions, Hathaway should have deserved the win for supporting actress for Les Mis. And the documentaries, I do agree with 20 Feet from Stardom and OJ Made in America. But what I think should have won for the rest: Gasland, Hell and Back Again, The Invisible War, and Fabian Vivian, My Year. Winner on Fire, Ukraine's take a shot. Ukraine's Fight for Freedom, Strong Island, RBG, and Honeyland. And of course, to the shock of no one, Spencer Reed once more watched Pacific Heights for the 15th time today. It will not be my choice for movie club. Glad I didn't bet on that because I thought about it. It is my speculum movie from AJ. I have something else in mind.
I'm trying to work out, but when he says the 15th time today, does he mean the 15th time over the past, 18, 19 hours somehow?
Probably. Welcome back, Spencer Reed says, name a sci-fi movie that does everything right. Where do bad sci-fi movies go wrong?
Very first thing that comes to mind when I think of a perfect sci-fi movie is the first Matrix. As obvious as of a choice that is. As far as where they go, I think my favorite sci-fis tend to blend genres and not feel like purely sci-fi.
Sure.
Like how a lot of them will have action, or a lot of them will have like really human drama or something. Like I really really love Spielberg's War of the Worlds, and that one seems much more about like the suspense rather than the sci-fi angle. I think that's why it really stands out to me. As far as like great ones like The Matrix or like Inception comes to mind, I guess where you could say they go wrong for me would be when sci-fi movies have big concepts that they can't fill out. Like they have really good ideas, and then it's like, oh, this could be a really great, concept. How are they going to build on this? And then they don't really build on it. They just kind of get married to the idea of just having a concept, and then they don't really think of anything else creative to do. And I feel like that's where a lot of them fall short. Whereas like stuff like The Matrix and Inception, I'm sure many other options that aren't coming to mind right now, just kind of keep continuously building on their concepts as they go throughout the movie. And I feel like that's why they are the first ones that jump out to me. So
I feel some like get too overcomplicated for even like the clever people that they're appealing to go for. If you have to MacGuff too much, then nobody's going to connect with it.
I would definitely agree with that. I think it has to be something that I tend to prefer simple stories that take place in the realm of science fiction. I like when the story's kept simple and the science fiction's more in the background. But AJ, you were talking about The Matrix. I think my favorite sci-fi movie personally is the first Total Recall.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say most of the Philip K. Dick stuff, but then that would be me having to compliment Blade Runner, which I'm not prepared to do completely. But
Nice.
yeah, when you think of stuff like Total Recall or Minority Report, that's stuff where it's like it has an amazing concept and then can build onto it.
Would you consider Guardians of the Galaxy science fiction?
Oh yeah. It's just like I said, it's also in that genre blending thing where there's comedy and action, and I guess I mean if you want to call comic book movie its own genre, there's that too.
Yeah, I guess 95% of comic book movies are science fiction.
It feels like it.
Okay. Guess I'm just gonna sit here and let everybody chat.
You don't have any sci-fi thoughts?
Not really. I mean,
I was gonna say also to kind of put a disclaimer on what I just said, and I'm sure Owen's probably coming from the same place. Sci-fi is just not really my genre. So that's why so few stand out to me, like the ones that I mentioned. But yeah, when they're great though, I can really latch onto them pretty easily.
I'm not exactly sure what constitutes a sci-fi at this point. Like, what are the parameters of what is a sci-fi movie and what is not?
I feel like the one that bumps up against the most is fantasy. Like, I was sitting here trying to distinguish, and AJ, you could probably answer this pretty well. Is Dune classified more as science fiction than fantasy?
If you were to say, give me Dune's genre, the first thing I would say is sci-fi.
But do you see what I mean? Where like it's easy for it to bump up against fantasy.
Yeah, it's literally in the genre of fiction.
Yeah, because I mean, like, and that's not always the case. Like, you're not going to look at Lord of the Rings and think sci-fi.
Yeah, the first thing you think of with the rings is fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah, and most of the stuff that people considers like the gold standard of sci-fi, I haven't seen. So, I mean, I've seen Total Recall, as it's been mentioned here, but again, we bring up the fact, The Matrix. I mean, never saw it.
And you got to decide. There's a really blurry line about the fact that fiction is in the title science fiction, because it's like, what about science? Like The Martian, to my understanding, is mostly realistic, mostly.
Science.
Yeah, so it's like where it like The Martian would still fall under science fiction as a genre, unless you're the Globes, but.
There's only one person that's allowed to say science fact, and that's Cubby Broccoli. I always remember that clip from like the press interviews for Moonraker. He was like, "No, this isn't science fiction. This is science fact. Like lasers in space. This is science fact."
Once again, let's throw this out there. And you want to talk about things I have not seen? Don't get any ideas, Ashley. I've not seen a Bond movie outside of the Craig movies. But everybody knows that has been watching this channel for the longest time.
That's pretty wild. You didn't at least see any of Brosnan's.
Nope.
Dude, I recommend for everybody as a Bond starter film. I recommend GoldenEye to everyone.
Yeah, but I just played the video game. But I don't think I can play it anyway, so.
I can't tell if GoldenEye is the perfect starter, or just we believe that because it was our first movie. Because if I was to get somebody started on Bond, I would also pick GoldenEye first.
I think it's because GoldenEye at the end of the day is an easy watch, and it's pretty easy to follow compared to other Bond plots.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about spies in movies, I mean, for me the gold standard is Maxwell Smart because that's what I grew up on. And then I love Austin Powers. I guess I'd stick with the more comedic instead of the more serious. But I know Bond can be comedic as well. And the only thing I really know about Bond is the stuff you guys have drilled into my head and the amazing Bond Lounge that I cannot wait to go get my Pepsi at when I go see All Quiet on the Western Front in a couple weeks. So there.
So how interesting is it that we've been talking about sci-fi this long and no one name dropped Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean, it's got its own. Star Wars is its own thing. It's like David S. Pumpkins. It's its own thing.
I mean,
That's also what I was talking about my some of my favorite sci-fis do genre blending, and there was the whole thing where Lucas basically wanted to make a Western in space, and that's how Star Wars came to be. So that falls into that category.
There was a time that I kind of I have these phases, and we can talk about them me first if you'd like. I have phases where I like things and then I just kind of grow out of it. There was one time that I was a real big Star Trek mark, and I remember like Generations and watching it theatrically was like the greatest thing in the world to me. I don't know why. It was just one of those things. It's like, hey, this is like old generation, new generation battling and everything. It's like, I love this.
Were you one of the people that sent death threats to Malcolm McDowell for killing Kirk?
No. Because he's an Angel 4 undercover. Can't forget that movie.
I think Star Wars is also one that kind of bumps up against fantasy because it's pretty well established in science fiction, but I would classify any of the Jedi stuff and the Force stuff as fantasy.
It is the true definition of sci-fi fantasy as a awards category. I mean, I guess you could say Dune's the same way.
Yeah, well, Dune's the father of Star Wars.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a bunch of Spencer Reed questions, which I know the panel absolutely loves. Name a costume drama that does things right, and where do the costume dramas go wrong that a good one does right? Okay, Spencer Reed, the stuff yesterday to talk like this, so it's like I feel like Simple Simon is back to with a vengeance, to say the least, with the way you worded that. Well played, good sir. Well played.
Here's the thing. Once again, I've said many times before, if I had to pick my least favorite genre, it would be the costume drama. So to put it in the perspective of ones that I love, the three that I always name drop are the three that immediately come to mind of my favorites. Because the thing about that is these three that I mention almost don't even register as costume dramas to me because they like the three would be The Favorite, Barry Lyndon, and Atonement. And like I said, those feel so far removed from what I typically think of a costume. Like when I think of costume dramas, I think of Jane Austen stuff and Merchant Ivory stuff, which can be good, but like to break it down, like with The Favorite has so much going on. Yes. The Favorite is this really dirty comedy. It's this really dark comedy, and it gets to the point to where once we get really deep into the betrayals and the backstabbing and all that, it's almost in thriller territory. And like I said, the whole movie is just so bizarre. And to see a movie that bizarre set to the typical costume drama aesthetic is something that's really, like, I feel like it just turned the genre on its head in a way I've never really seen before. And I don't know that can be done again without immediately feeling like a Lanthimos ripoff or something.
Mm-hmm.
With Atonement, I feel like I saw a comment recently, probably on Letterboxd or something, where it was talking about I think it was the Joe Wright Pride and Prejudice, and they just said this was just 2 hours of people going to each other's houses, and
nice.
And I know what they mean by that, even though there's obviously more to the story than that. But what I like about Atonement is how high stakes everything is. Like I feel like the appeal of a lot of like Jane Austen type stories is the fact that they're so low stakes.
Right.
Like it's the most mundane issue is going to be the main storyline, and that can be great. But Atonement had like the letter thing, it had the war, it had the Benedict Cumberbatch raping people subplot. It had all that going on. It had its end, that insane gut punch of an ending. Atonement has a whole bunch of stuff going on to where it doesn't feel like typical to the genre either. And Barry Lyndon feels really, it's almost kind of got a favorite kind of thing going on where it's almost too bizarre to feel like a regular costume drama. What I love about Barry Lyndon especially is how episodic it feels. How like you've got the whole intro, and then you've got like the gambling plot, and then you've got everything from when Lord Bullingdon comes in, and it becomes like a rivalry between them. And it almost feels like you're kind of watching a mini series in one sitting. And I feel like that really benefits the genre also, because that's another thing where the genre is typically associated with it doesn't feel like a lot happens. And like I said, with Barry Lyndon having like that episodic feel, it does feel like it has actual beats to it that a typical costume drama probably wouldn't.
I feel
like where it goes wrong too is if you have a costume drama and you put all your focus in the costume and forget to put in decent drama.
Yeah. Costumes and production design kind of are kind of the show, and then it kind of stops there.
Yeah. It's like, come see the costumes and the sets we built. Okay, well, what's the story? I don't know. Story beat number 6, where this woman doesn't feel like she belongs and wants more. Go with that.
And Hugh Grant playing someone with the last name Darcy.
Or Colin Firth.
That
Colin
works.
Firth always comes to mind.
I feel the major issue is with a lot of them, they've already been done and done better.
Yeah.
Very rare occasions do you get one that's on a par with. Then again, there never really was like a definitive Emma to some extent, at least like traditionally. As in, I'm thinking like Pride and Prejudice and Oliver Twist and everything from like the 40s and everything like that. Emma really didn't get its sort of flowers until the Emma Thompson thing in '95, and then arguably the 2020 version with Taylor Joy was good because it was sort of modernizing the text but still resonating. Whereas, what was that one that came out like late last year with Dakota Johnson?
Was it Persuasion?
Yeah. The other Austin one, where it was just, it contemporized it too much as if to try attract the TikTok generation, where not a lot of people on TikTok are that stupid. Don't get me wrong, there's some that will only get to proper sort of, they don't have to dumb it down to sort of the Instagram generation completely, I would have thought. And that's where I think most sort of try and go wrong. Emma 2020 sort of fleabagged it. It sort of like third personed it, which makes sense for the character, but didn't try and make it too sort of out of touch with the original text. And that's where I think a lot of period dramas go wrong. Don't get me wrong, you can get sort of like, I enjoy Bride and Prejudice just because it's very sort of Bollywood-esque. Gorinda did a very good job with that, but you can't like burn the candle at both ends really in that respect. I can't wait until, as soon as I was excited for, what was it, Rebecca from Ben Whishaw And then after seeing it, I was like, he's better than this. There was
Ben
no.
Wheatley.
He's better than this. Yeah. Don't fuck with Olivia.
So I guess it's weird because I'm with AJ on this as well. The period drama has never really been one of my favorite genres whatsoever. But yeah, I love The Favorite. I mean, stuff like I like Great Expectations. That's another one I enjoy.
The David Lean version, especially.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it's like, again, like I said last night, and I'll continue to say, if you can get me, then and keep me entertained in a movie of a genre that I don't generally care for, you've done something right as a filmmaker. I think if you can do that with anything, it makes you a lot more credible filmmaker, because if you don't like something and your target audience that's watching the film doesn't like it either, then you failed. But if you can get somebody to like something that they never thought they'd like in a million years, I think you have figured out the mark of a true filmmaker.
Also, for me, if you put Emily Blunt in it, then that works too. So the young Victoria obviously is watchable to me, if only for that reason.
Right.
I'm trying to remember who's in the new Great Expectations.
I think.
Where is it? 2023.
I think we may have to cut chat at 6:30.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, because I know my brother's got to go at 8, don't you?
Okay.
Brother, can you hear me?
Yeah. Am I not coming through?
Yeah.
No.
You have to. Yeah.
You have to go at 8, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're cutting chat now.
Yeah, and Olivia Colman is Miss Havisham in the new version from Stephen Knight that's coming out in a couple of months.
That could be good.
Now, Josie, you're good. It's fine. It's just I'm trying to keep track of everything and make sure we have everything accounted for. So I have every single thing from before we started the show all the way to your last question. Oh, my dad, so much. Parsnip Burger chimes in just as we get the Iggy that the questions are done for the night. Oh, he says hi, Chris.
Hello.
He asks what the questions are about. Everything. As always, Parsnip Burger. QA shows are all over the place, just like they always are. As I get to, where are we, 5:43? Spencer Reading inquires about favorite Angela Lansbury movie. I love Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Beauty and the Beast. But honestly, she's Jessica Fletcher. And that's what I think of when I think Angela Lansbury.
I wasn't really into Bedknobs and Broomsticks as a kid, and I haven't seen it since. So I don't know if that would change now. But I do know the Manchurian Candidate obviously comes to mind. Gaslight comes to mind. The Harvey Girls, the Judy Garland musical about the restaurant, I've seen a few times. I feel like it's always on TCM, especially at Oscar time. So I've seen it at least a few times that way. And that's great. And yeah, like you said, Beauty and the Beast, obviously. And her cameo in Mary Poppins Returns, obviously, stands out to me.
Like you do.
If I had to pick one of those, Yeah, I mean, it'd probably be Beauty and the Beast. But as far as like a one that's live action and one that's not just a cameo, would be the Manchurian Candidate or probably Manchurian Candidate with Gaslight close behind. But I do recommend, even if you're not much of a musical fan, I still would probably recommend the Harvey Girls. It's really fun.
And to answer your question, Parsnip Burger, yes, you can still ask one because you were not here when we called end on questions. So yeah, you can. That's fine. I only like Murder, She Wrote. That's the response is. It's fair.
It's good to say that Angela Lansbury did a better job than Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Wow. So AJ Spencer wants to know, do you listen to the Quentin and Roger Avery podcast?
I don't. That's one of those things that's on that constant to-do list. The only thing holding me back is Roger Avery kind of annoys me.
Wow.
But yes, I would. I love the concept of it, of just watching his old video archives, VHSs.
Yeah.
And talking about them at random. But basically what we do here.
Sure.
So yeah, I would love to get to that eventually, though I almost just kind of wish it was just him, but
sure.
Just like how it annoys me so much that Roger Avery also won an Oscar for Pulp Fiction. I feel like okay, fine. I mean, I dig the Rules of Attraction, and you know, I even kind of dig his what was the heist movie with Eric Stoltz, Killing Zoe?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he's fine, but yeah, I prefer, like, you know, solo Tarantino, I guess.
Makes sense. Spencer asks, favorite comedy that goes hard with drama?
In Bruges.
Yeah, Bruges is a really good example.
Juno gets pretty heavy after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the ones that are coming to mind are kind of recent. I'm sure there's older examples.
I know, because the one I was thinking was the 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah. Oh, you mean when Apatow did it and it actually worked that one time?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he just got obsessed with doing that, and now it's almost like he makes shitty dramas with a little bit of comedy in them. Though I did dig The King of Staten Island did the balance really well.
Maybe Funny People?
Oh yeah.
Funny People's a good one. 50-50 is a good example.
Oh yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of really good ones, but nothing's like super coming to mind like right away.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like it's something that people are just having a really hard time pulling off anymore.
I will say, the longer time goes and the more I think about it, because Owen mentioned Funny People, the other Sandler movie I think of is, I thought they handled the drama pretty decently in 51st Dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given the concept of the movie, it could have been really dramatic, but they had a nice little balance.
Yeah, because that 51st Dates did something that a lot of comedies wouldn't do, which was like really addressed the concept and all the different, like, how many facets come with that concept and how it wouldn't be just comedy.
Makes sense. Favorite 1970s live action Disney movie?
I don't know if I've seen it.
That's just a wow.
I'm gonna give a sort of like boxed answer, I guess you'd call it.
That's fair.
I kind of love the Kurt Russell movies from that era.
I've always been a Love Bug guy.
Yeah, I think Love Bug was like late 60s, but even the sort of the other two, I think the two that came out in the 70s, like Herbie Rides Again and Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, I think, they were both 70s. They were
Yeah,
pretty
so
good.
I can say Love Bug. I just not the Love Bug, the Herbie
Yeah.
movies.
I feel the
I
Herbie
never
movies are
really-
probably. I mean, probably the obvious answer is Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah,
Because it's sort of more substantial than stuff like Pete's Dragon or anything like that.
yeah. Oh wow. Shaggy DA.
I never really got into the Herbie movies. I don't think I felt like they were too silly, even for like child me.
I think it was my dad and his weird voice growing up. Because my dad would like walk around randomly and get the goofiest look on his face and go, Herbie Lovebug rides again. What is this? And then, of course, Herbie, as a part of the stunt show at Hollywood Studios back in the day, when it was still MGM, Lights, Motors, Action, which that was cool. Of course, that was promoting the Lindsay Lohan movies at the time, Herbie Fully Loaded.
Oh, and
So-
Escape to Witch Mountain, the original.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good one as well.
yeah. Parsnip we definitely we'll get to the question. And you guys can, of course, as always, you can chime in and respond. But I'm trying to get them in order, and we are very bogged down with a lot of really good questions and comments from the chat. Love Barefoot Executive song and the other Kurt Russell Disney one, says Parsnip Burger.
Yeah, the ones with like Kurt Russell and Cesar Romero are. I'm just really into those for something. I didn't really grow up with them, but when I watch them now, they like take me to some sort of nostalgic place that I can't quite pinpoint.
Well, it's Captain Ron and the Joker. What do you expect? Stuntman Mike and the Joker. Sorry.
No, I fully back.
No,
You're-
I'm on
you're
board
good.
with Captain Ron too.
I love Captain Ron. I do not care.
Like
That movie may have to come to Movie Club. I love Captain Ron. I watched that movie in the theater, and that's a shoot.
Kurt Russell has such a storied career of iconic characters, but I'm perfectly okay with the first one for you being Captain Ron.
Man, when you think about it, he really has.
I love Captain Ron. That movie's great. I love so many of these obscure 90s, 80s comedy movies, and that's the reason why that's what you get from Owen on Popcast Movie Club. 9 times out of 10. Okay. Favorite dirty joke in a movie? These are Spencer Reed questions, by the way.
I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite, but as far as like one that's just really iconic that I really appreciate just for being the joke that it is and reaching an iconic status in pop culture, you have to commend the hair joke in There's Something About Mary.
Yeah.
It literally turned Cameron Diaz having cum in her hair into an iconic movie image that everybody recognizes. That's really impressive.
That's fair. Chris?
I'd have to go with that as well, just for the cultural impact that it had.
I wasn't sure what the answer was going to be when I heard the question, but I did know it was going to be a Farrelly Brothers movie. I just didn't know which one and which joke.
Nope, not for me. We'll get to me in a second because I asked the question, so I'm going to answer last. Ashley, what's your answer?
Part of me wants to say the film that is The Aristocrats.
You son of a... Get out of my freaking head, Ashley. Good Lord.
Just because it's literally one joke for the entire film, but it's just told by God knows how many different personalities,
It's
and
so
it's just
good.
it's literally sort of Fistful of Dynamite-esque sort of one-upsmanship. It's like the joke was just originally sort of like, oh, look at them, they look messy, they call them the aristocrats, and then it just has, you know, piss and shit, and like it gets as
Yep.
vile as possible to
Yep.
make it sound even worse.
I remember watching The Aristocrats the first time, and I remember telling the joke to someone, my own version of it, which I'm definitely not telling on here. And I made it up as I went along in improv style, like you're supposed to, and people were just like mortified by the time. I was like, "Oh, when you speak like that, it's like," and they call them the Aristocrats. The end. Cream of some young guy from Wayne's World.
That's a-
Of that one.
Yeah, I was
And
trying to think. It's funny you bring that up because I was just sitting here thinking, the question makes you immediately want to jump to R-rated movies, but there's some PG-13 movies that have slipped some really dirty jokes in.
yeah, but I obviously, with me, one of the things that I'll always say, Kevin Nash is quoting Grandma's Boy.
Is that where Massage Your Cock for Money came from?
That is 100% the line.
Sticking with Mike Myers, I have to say I respect the bluntness and just the straightforwardness of the character called A Lot of Vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The way that it's just so blatant about it, I kind of respect it.
Oh, obviously the punchline game in Private Parts.
Oh yeah. Private Parts gives a lot of choices.
That one especially. Yeah, those are definitely ones I go for. I do like a good dirty joke. I'm not gonna tell them on here, but it's interesting because Drew Carey did a book. I think it was mid 2000. It was mid 90s. It was when the Drew Carey show was hugely popular, as it should be, because it's awesome. Needless to say, because that's how you really do a Friends show. Anyway, I will say that it was really cool, and I love everything about the Drew Carey show. One of the things he did was a book called Dirty Jokes and Beer. So the start of every chapter was a dirty joke, and at the very end was beer, which were true life stories from Drew's past with the names changed to protect the innocent or the guilty, depending on how you look at it. Definitely something I recommend. And I definitely would love to see more comics do things like that, honestly. I'm sure they have throughout the years, but Drew Carey is one of the ones that I know that wrote a literal dirty joke book. That was cool.
Also, a shout out to the misunderstanding scene in My Cousin Vinny because it's so beautifully written.
Yeah.
When Vinny's first in the cell and does the "you're getting fucked one way or the other," and just everything is a double entendre that's being said in this whole scene.
Parsnip Burger says I like the Rescuers better than the Aristocrats. Nice. Don't remember any jokes except for the Golden Girls. I'll try to get on top of that if you're gonna chime in, chat as best I can, because
if you keep an eye on the top, I'll keep an eye on the bottom.
radio.
That sounds wrong.
Thoughts on Ant-Man's Rotten Tomatoes score?
Deserved.
Oh,
It's
that
fucking,
review's coming soon, everyone. Get ready.
that movie embarrassed everybody in it.
The only thing about Ant-Man is Pingo Doce, available at Avengers Campus as we speak. Or if you go to AMC right now, you can actually get it on the East Coast or any coast other than just the West Coast, as it promotes the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, which is coming soon. But we don't care about the movie. it's Pinko Doce under a different name because everyone knows what Pinko Doce is. It's basically like a mellow yellow vanilla base to it, and you can get it right now if you so choose.
When I say Ant-Man embarrassed its cast, I need to say something in particular. I don't know if it's spoilery because I don't know. I didn't know this person was in the movie until I saw it, and I don't know how many people know that he's in the movie, even though he's in it like throughout.
Okay.
So just with that warning, I'm going to go ahead and say a name that's in Ant-Man. If I was Corey Stoll right now, I would never want to be seen in public again. That's
Wow.
That's yeah.
Okay.
And Bill Murray gets out best because despite all that publicity, he's got one fucking scene.
Fair.
I find it interesting that all of a sudden Marvel is backpedaling, because I guess finally Marvel has reached its Star Wars sort of saturation level, and too much is coming out, and they need to turn the tap to let it like trickle out a bit slower.
Yeah, I will stand by the best movie in this phase, unless I'm forgetting one, was Wakanda Forever is good. And it's really well done. And that's the biggest compliment I can give this phase, I think.
Josie says somebody wrote a tweet showing a picture of Mant from Matinee saying this is the only Ant-Man I need. I fully support this tweet, Josie. 100%. Spencer says, support your movie stores. Screw streaming. Yes. But feel free to support archive.org. All right. Are we going to continue with Spencer and then I'll go into Brian's D's in a minute? Yeah, we'll do that. Boom. Live there. God dang, there's so many. This is the Spencer Reed Show for quite a bit. Thoughts on the dressmaker?
Is that the Kate Winslet one?
Yeah.
It mentions Kate Winslet, but I just want to just call it the dressmaker.
That movie really surprised me.
Okay.
Because I thought it was just going to be some boring. I mean, think about it. A Kate Winslet movie called The Dressmaker. You're already sleeping, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. I was already done.
It's a Kate Winslet film where the title is The Profession. So it's just like The Reader, so you're immediately like...
The Dressmaker is basically like the child of Dogville.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's very good and very surprising.
I was expecting... All right. We are moving on to the next question. I am watching Death in Venice. Thoughts?
I actually have not seen it.
Ooh.
Ashley, chime in because it sounds like you know.
I feel it gets a little too Lolita-y at the points for it to be sort of like something that I really love. But I admire it sticking true to sort of the book and sort of having that view reflected in the thing. And I think it's better than Lolita, even though it's sort of, I'm not happy with that sort of connotation in film and whatever. Then again, I really enjoyed Alan Bennett's Habit of Art, which I'm surprised hasn't been made into a film yet. Then again, I guess we're getting round to it, considering we're getting Alleluia in a month or two, at least in the UK. But yeah, Dirk does a pretty good job. It's just, some of the subject matter. It feels very much in that sort of 70s, like, what can we get away with Last Tango in Paris style.
Mm-hmm.
Because, whether Kubrick sort of set the bar with the original Lolita, in, what was it, 62? I think? Whether that's, like, what led to... Oh, what was it? Was it not the one with the one that Ken Russell did with like the
Deep
giant,
Throat?
the giant naked fight scene with
Women in Love.
yeah, Women in Love.
I don't know why I said Deep Throat. Don't worry.
Dude, Ken Russell's Deep Throat would have been wild.
I try. Think I have. Trying to keep up on everything in order as best I can.
So you say that because, of course, Deep Throat was like early 70s. Now I'm just thinking of Ken Russell's Caligula.
Oh God.
He probably would have been pretty well suited for it, actually.
Exactly, that's what.
Spencer is watching the 1971 costume design nominees.
Oh,
Interesting.
And inquires. Yes, Ashley?
That's why Death in Venice is being watched, I see.
Yes. And also inquires about the worst costumes ever in a movie. Good Lord.
I assume unintentional bad costume.
I'm sure that's probably what we're looking at. All right.
Did you have some intentionally bad costumes in mind?
Me?
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head, I'm thinking.
Part of me wants to say Batman and Robin. I think some of those costumes are just like too showy and less like practical. Especially compared to like Batman Forever. Riddler's gear and Two-Face's gear and even Batman's gear looks normal. And then with George Clooney, oh, it's a hot person, put the nips on it. I mean, that's got to be somewhere to hang the fucking Bat credit card.
I love the idea of somebody seeing George Clooney and saying, "Oh, look, a hot person."
He was listed as.
Why else did they make Ticket to Paradise?
God.
Right now, the only thing that's coming to mind for me is Masters of the Universe.
Gotta be something that comes to mind, and nothing just jumps out at me. It's gotta be a bad superhero movie.
That seems to be where we're headed. I don't think I have an answer for this.
I don't either. But as I did not try to give that away, thoughts on the superhero movie?
Which one?
Yeah.
No, the superhero movie.
Oh, like the spoof one?
Yes.
With Drake Bell.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
2008.
Yeah, that was when those were... That was the same year as Disaster Movie, so that's when they were drawing out. I remember not really getting...
Epic movie, not another team. Just because it worked with Scary Movie, then it was just like, okay, let's go to the races.
Okay. We've been talking about this a lot. And naturally, I remember the Tom Cruise joke. And there's one other thing I remember about superhero movie, and it's a beef I've had with it for a long time, but in retrospect, it's something that's kind of weird. And maybe that's also why it's so memorable, apart from the obvious thing. If one movie would be blanked out of my head forever, there would still be one thing I remember about it, and that's if it has a vomit scene in it or not.
Of course.
If I remember correctly, it's the scene where he has his Peter Parker moment where he gets bit by, I'm guessing, a spider. And he comes home and he's like acting sickly. And I believe he pukes into a fish tank. And what's interesting is this is in that era of like, epic movie and disaster movie and stuff like that. You would think a vomit scene in a movie like this would be like really fake projectile looking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if I recall correctly, this scene of Drake Bell puking into a fish tank looked really realistic.
Oh, God.
And I was like, for this movie, that's kind of fucked up.
Maybe he read the script and realized how bad the day's shooting was going to be, and it literally made him physically ill.
That very well could be. I would buy that. That's literally my entire memory of superhero movie, is that scene and the Tom Cruise joke.
Word. Suspense Street.
I was just going to say, I haven't seen one of those movies since I was dragged to the theater to watch Meet the Spartans.
All those Friedberg and Seltzer movies and wannabe Friedberg and Seltzer movies were all straight trash.
Have you guys heard the theory that Friedberg and Seltzer are Soderbergh?
No.
So, obviously, I don't remember what all the theory was. I just saw like the vague bullet points of it. But obviously we know that Soderbergh can make very cheap movies very quickly.
Right.
The only physical existence of Friedberg and Seltzer, as far as anybody knows, is that one picture that was on their IMDb page. Otherwise, they have never been physically seen by anybody. Except whoever was maybe on the set of the movie. And then they said, take the combination of seltzer, which could be another word for soda.
Yeah.
Friedberg, you get Soderbergh.
Oh my God.
And Soderbergh has a very wild, bizarre sense of humor. If anybody's seen Schizopolis, they know how weird Soderbergh's sense of humor can get. I almost want to believe... So I think the theory is that those movies are Soderbergh fucking around to get money for his lesser projects. Stuff like Bubble could have been funded with date movie money.
Oh my God.
Where you said that disaster movie and superhero movie came out the same year, I just want like Soderbergh to be looking and be like, fuck, I still have to make a payment on Solaris. Let me make superhero movie too.
And I just pulled this up off of our friends at Reddit, and 6 years ago, this was posted as something I've never heard of this before, but apparently there is a theory that what AJ's saying is actually true.
That's the only explanation, honestly.
If you were in the right place at the right time, AJ, you could have asked the man himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be a full on interrogation. We'd have to put a light in his face and everything. It's like, you're them, aren't you? Like you're gonna go around it all you can, because he's known for that. Also, he shoots a lot of his movies under a pseudonym, and he supposedly wrote Logan Lucky, because Logan Lucky's writing credit is for somebody named Rebecca Blunt. And people have done research, and Rebecca Blunt does not seem to exist. So I want to believe this is true.
Good. Odd.
Rebecca Blunt is the new Alan Smithy.
That's literally what it says on the Reddit page, Ashley, in those words. It's like you're reading it, but I know you're not. Favorite fairy tale?
Peter Pan.
Cinderella.
Fairy tales is such a wide term. I've got to do a bit of Google here.
I mean, Shrek.
Counts. I think it does.
In essence, Shrek 1 and 2, because it's sort of very Beauty and the Beast sort of roles reverse sort of thing.
Yeah.
In that respect as well, the one I really do like is Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, I very much love Princess and the Frog. Coming to Magic Kingdom in a few years.
This one's difficult because I only know fairy tales through essentially the classic Disney movies.
That's
So
pretty much what we're going with.
So I know that like every fairy tale, that's this really nice story, there's gonna be somebody that comes along and says, the real story is like filled with death and grimness, right?
Dude, that happened with me with Peter Pan the other day. Apparently in the books, Peter goes back to Neverland and he comes back to get Wendy to whenever he needs like the Lost Boys area cleaned up, and he'll just keep coming back, and then when Wendy gets too old, he comes back and brings her daughter. And so pretty much Peter Pan pretty much turns all of Wendy and her daughter ancestors into slaves.
Oh, that's nice.
Very nice. Yeah.
For the record, I said Peter Pan was my favorite because I like pirates.
I was one of them.
It has nothing to do with enslaving Wendy's ancestor or descendants.
Take a shot. Yeah, you read Hans Christian Andersen's version of some of these Disney stories, you'll have a different opinion of them, especially The Little Mermaid.
Oh man, The Little Mermaid's is so messed up.
So Spencer Reed also asked you a question about Big Brother, Chris.
Yeah.
What is your Legends cast for Big Brother?
Oh man, I don't know enough about the early season to put something like that together.
That was a question he asked earlier that I accidentally deleted, so I had to put it in the list.
I feel bad. I don't feel like I can answer this one justly. I don't know enough about the early season to put something together.
I would say for just like your all-star cast for the time being.
Oh man.
If you want to adjust the question a little bit to make it a little bit more
I would just name some that I think from the modern era that could fit.
Sure.
I know he wasn't really controversial, but a lot of people were hit and miss on him. I really like Joseph from this season. He was definitely a schemer. Michael for competitions. Last year, I'd throw Xavier in there just the way that he was able to get the house to do repeatedly what he needed them to do without even backing up. You'd have to throw Janelle in there because it's the legend. That's where I would kind of start. From there, I'd have to do a little more research to put a more complete list together, but I'll start it there.
Okay. That's a fair question. Let's see. Spencer Reed says the girl from Megan and the girl from the Black Phone are sisters.
Are they? I looked that up when I saw her name, but I didn't see any confirmation.
Apparently. Favorite acting sisters or brothers and acting families? I love the Fondas and the Houstons.
Yeah, the Houstons would be up there for sure.
I usually like what either Gyllenhaal is doing.
Yeah. I feel like the Houstons is such a definitive answer. I can't really think of anything else.
Maybe the
Bill and Brian Doyle Murray.
Maybe the Murray family for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe the Fineses as well.
Yeah, because Joseph's pretty underrated.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't really get a lot of. Obviously, he's not getting Rafe's praise, but he doesn't really seem to get much praise. Period. When he's good in his own right.
Right.
And trying to think of
The
the other one.
Douglases.
Yeah.
Well, they're not brothers, but Michael and Kurt.
Shirley MacLaine and Warren Beatty would be up there.
The Wilson brothers.
Yeah.
Owen and Luke, yeah.
The Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
What
Also,
movie was I watching the other day where somebody said that somebody had more kids than Miss Wayne's. What was I watching?
that is a joke and don't be a menace.
Okay, that's it.
It came from the mouth of a Wayans.
Favorite movie, loser, or lowlife?
The dude.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with the dude there.
Wow, you said loser. The first person I thought of was Miles Raymond.
Oh man. Oh man, that's good too.
Dude,
But at least Miles Raymond's employed.
Yeah.
like the dude's the correct answer. Like, honestly, I think Joe Dirt's the correct answer too.
Yeah.
You know who's had all throw in the ring is Jim Levinstein.
You're welcome.
I'm trying to. What's his name? Chance from Being There.
Oh, Chauncey Gardner.
Yeah.
When you said Chance, I was like, Homeward Bound?
Chance the Gardener from Being There.
Would you consider Del Griffith a loser?
No. No, I wouldn't say he's a loser.
So by definition, he probably is, but I feel like the self-worth that he has makes him not one.
Yeah. And plus, I just wouldn't feel right about somebody being like, that guy's wife died. What a loser. That wouldn't feel very fair.
Because the thing, I was trying to think of like real loners, because everybody we've mentioned up to this point has friends.
Josie brought up the dude, but also brought up Billy Bob in Bad Santa.
That's a good one.
Yeah, he's a loser.
At least a good one.
And I
That's
feel
a really
like
good
he would be the first person to tell you he's a loser too.
No, he'd be the first one to tell you he's a fucking loser.
That is 100% correct. Trying to think. So many good ones.
It doesn't become likable till the end, but I would consider Greg Kinnear's character in Little Miss Sunshine to be kind of a loser.
Yeah, which is the perfect irony to his attitude.
Yeah, I think what helps though is he has a really good arc though.
Parsnip Burger also brings up for the families Hemsworth.
More so Chris than Liam. There's not really a lot of Liam work.
No. His claim to fame was Miley Cyrus. Certainly not his.
Oh, he had the Hunger Games.
His
the other guy.
His claim to fame was Miley Cyrus. If I want to watch the Hunger Games, I'll watch Battle Royale.
I was thinking, it's a bad sign for him that I have to Google this. I feel like there was one movie where I was like, okay, Liam Hemsworth was okay in that, but I can't tell you off the top of my head. And I could
We've had that conversation.
And I could be misremembering. I don't know. He's in the Dressmaker.
Oh good God. Parsnip Burger also brings up Steve Martin in The Jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard really good things about Arkansas, and I've even blind bought it, but I haven't watched it yet. So I'll hold off on bashing Liam Hemsworth until I do that.
Okay. I'm not sure the direction we're going with this, Spencer Reed, but all right, sure. Favorite babysitting movie and favorite babysitter who is a meanie.
Well, babysitting movies, Adventures in Babysitting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the babysitter that's a meanie, I'll go with Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
I love that movie.
I felt like Mrs. Sturrock was a little too obvious, but it's just immediately, as soon as the question was there, her face was there.
Yeah.
Was it Monster House that also had a mean babysitter where she was with Jason Lee? Was that Monster House or was that something else?
Huh.
Jason Lee plays a guy named Bones or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that Monster House?
Yeah. Jason Lee as Bones is definitely in Monster House. I can't remember if there was another one.
Because I don't think there was a mean sitter in Paranormal.
No.
No, I think it was just Anna Kendrick and Casey Affleck, wasn't it? Who were his sister and her. Well, what would have been her boyfriend, but he was taken.
Okay. I'm going to try to keep this in order as best I can, but I can't promise anything. It's time once again for Awards Acting Battle, Round 4, SAG 2000 to 2021. You know how we do this.
Speed round.
1, 2, 3. Answer. Let's go. 2000. Supporting Judi Dench for Chocolat or Albert Finney for Aaron Brockovich. 1, 2, 3.
Finney. I have no memory of Dench's performance.
Finney.
Yeah, Finney.
I haven't seen either one.
Julia Roberts or Benicio. 1, 2, 3.
I haven't seen either one.
I gotta say Roberts.
I'd edge it to
Roberts.
as well.
Just barely, but Roberts. 2001, supporting Helen Mirren for Gosford Park, Sir Ian McKellen for Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship. 1, 2, 3.
McKellen.
McKellen.
Pass.
Oh, fair. Halle Berry for Monsters Ball or Russell Crowe. 1, 2, 3.
Barry.
Barry.
Yeah, Barry.
This is A Beautiful Mind for Crow, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'll say Barry.
Leading Zellweger or Daniel Day. 1, 2, 3.
Daniel Day. Daniel Day all day.
Yeah.
DDL.
That should be on a T-shirt. Daniel Day all day.
Dude, I'm sure it is somewhere. Some Mizark on
Have the heads of his characters on it.
Zazzle created it before the thing went down. 2003, Charlize for Monster or Johnny Depp for Pirates. Ooh. 1, 2, 3. This is tough.
This is unbalanced for me because I've seen Pirates a billion times and I've only seen Monster once.
Same.
Oh damn.
I
I'll say Depp, but I might regret that later when I rewatch Monster.
I just about edge it to Ferran.
I don't think you'll regret it as much as you think, because I think before the whole Jack Sparrow thing got stale, I would say that the praise was warranted.
Yeah.
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 But I'll still edge it to Depp, but it's close.
2005, supporting Rachel Weisz for Constant Gardener or Paul Giamatti for Cinderella Man. 1, 2, 3.
Paul Giamatti.
Giamatti.
I haven't seen Cinderella Man, but Paul Giamatti on principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2007. Ashley.
I'll probably just edge it to him as well.
Good answer. 2007, Ruby Dee or Javier Bardem. 1, 2, 3.
Bardem.
Bardem.
That's another case where it's just unfair. The Ruby D had like 2 scenes.
Go. 2008, Meryl Streep for Doubt or Sean Penn for Milk. 1, 2, 3.
Streep. I'll take the plunge first.
Sure.
Penn's is more nuanced. A lot more nuanced.
Oh yeah.
Which is what it's been resonating more with me lately. I love a good bombastic performance. Especially Bombastic Streep can be really fun. And I do think she's amazing in Doubt, but like with the vibe I'm at right now, I would say Penn.
Penn.
I'd probably just about say Streep.
Okay. 2011, Viola Davis or Jean Dujardin? 1, 2, 3.
Jean Dujardin.
Jean Dujardin.
Yeah, Dujardin in that case, because
I believe even Viola Davis agrees now.
Yes. Anne Hathaway or Tommy Lee Jones, 2012. 1, 2, 3.
I love Tommy Lee and Lincoln, but I gotta say Hathaway.
Hathaway.
Aim.
Dream to Dream.
2015, Vikander or Idris Elba? 1, 2, 3.
Saw neither.
Elba.
And Elba's so chilling, but Vikander's so good in The Danish Girl. She's the only reason I remember that movie at all.
I like Beast of No Nation though.
I might actually have to say Vikander just a little bit.
Man, I can't believe you're dissing DJ Big Driss like that.
I'd edge it to Elba because Vikander was a leading performance.
Yeah.
Accurate. So Brian also alludes to 2016, Emma Stone or, in these words, AJ's pick, Denzel Washington.
Emma Stone has a couple of amazing scenes in La La Land, but it's not even fucking close, man.
I love La La Land, and I will defend its Best Picture win, no matter what anybody says. But it's Denzel all day, every day.
If we were to do like a bracket kind of scenario,
Oh God,
Denzel and Fences would obviously be at the end of it.
Yeah. I don't know, AJ. We got 2018 coming up next. You know this. Yes. Supporting Emily Blunt in a lead for A Quiet Place or Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, so that's Ali for Green Book, right?
The Ali lead performance. So 2018, yeah, that would be Green Book.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously I'm saying Blunt no matter what. I do think her performance is the best, but also, yeah, I don't know why I would even answer this.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'd probably just about edge Blunt as well.
I think I'm going to do the same thing.
I love Green Book, but the Blunt's the correct answer.
I do feel like Green Book gets a bad rap.
And thank you. 2020, Viola Davis or Chadwick Boseman? Boseman.
Chadwick.
Is that the first time we've done one for the same movie?
No, we've done one several times with the same movie. It's just not today. EO is now streaming. Now streaming on Criterion.
Oh, cool.
Babysitting movie. Oh God, Parsnip Burger, of course. Halloween. Wow. God dang it. I'm telling you.
I feel like I got tricked.
See, you know.
So does Linda fall under a meanie babysitter? She doesn't get the chance to babysit anybody, but she's a fucking terrible babysitter even so.
Well,
fucking
I'd say so.
Fucking Bob taking the fucking phone off the hook. I mean, no.
No.
Out of context, not knowing this conversation, just hearing you say that Bob taking off the phone, take the phone off the hook.
There's so much separation, okay? Number one,
God.
It'd be one thing if it's not even Bob's house, okay? That's just one thing. But the fact that the reason Bob is here is for somebody else who also the house does not belong to. Bob is so far removed from the job of taking the phone off the hook. He deserved what he got.
Oh, wow.
I think, too, there's another universe out there where Jamie Lee Curtis is the first one to drop the line, "Don't fuck with the babysitter."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's cool to think about.
Yeah. She would
deliver the hell out of that line, too.
Oh, my God. And there's a whole connection here because of fucking Deborah Hill, and you can hear the Halloween music in Adventures in Babysitting.
Hey,
Amazing.
maybe this is a sign from the cosmos saying that her time is coming on Sunday. Guess we'll wait and see.
It could be fucking anybody at this point.
That's a shoot. And I won't be here for it when it happens. Brian says, speaking of Criterion, new releases for May, thoughts, targets, Petite Maman, and Thelma and Louise.
Oh my God, one I've heard of. I've never heard of that. I never hear of the Criterion movie.
Oh, dear.
It's about fucking time for Target. I just rewatched Targets because I had a little mini marathon of Bogdanovich. And the means I had to go to find Targets were fucking ridiculous.
There's also Branded to Kill and Wings of Desire as well.
Yeah, those are the only ones that were mentioned, though.
I'm assuming that's a reissue of Wings of Desire? Because it's definitely already in there, right?
Dude, I'm just pumped about Thelma and Louise.
I'm curious what Thelma and Louise's cover will look like. I don't think I've seen yet.
It looks nice.
Does it involve the car?
Yes. It does look sort of like a painting-esque style thing.
You didn't see the artist with the paintbrush on the side of the road when they went over the cliff? I'm kidding.
It was Ed Harris. He was beside the side of the road. He lost his art supplies, and that's the reason why he sells oranges to this day.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple cover, and I actually like that.
All right, Josie time. Sorry it took this long, Josie. Hey, Popcast team. As I told you in the Baptist video, finished reading The Outsiders and watched the movie. Both were excellent. Almost done with Taming the Star Runner. I think I know the answer to this, AJ, but Rumblefish or The Outsiders?
I really liked the extended cut of The Outsiders they put in theaters. Was that just last year or it would have been last year probably.
Mm-hmm. I believe so.
Or was it a few years ago? I don't even know.
No, I think it was either last year or the year before because I decided to buy both because they were like $2.99 on Amazon a few weeks back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if I had to choose between the extended cut of The Outsiders and Rumblefish, well, I don't know. I really love Rumblefish so much, but it's been a while since I saw. I might not have watched Rumblefish since we did the verses. It's been a very long time. So I feel like my answer is, if I were to have rewatched both of them recently, my answer would probably be Rumblefish, but The Outsiders is much fresher in my mind, and I was really impressed by how good the extended cut is. Because usually the extended cuts are like, oh no, there's a reason this shit isn't here. But there's like so much more added drama to the extended cut. I don't know that I almost don't know if I could go back to the original.
That's fair. So we move on to our next question, or the next comment. First time watchers for Josie since the last show. The Rage in Placid Lake, The Discreet Charm in the Bourgeois, The Outsiders, Dance Girl Dance, Mississippi Masala, Liberty Heights. It's apparently catching like a virus. And Horse Prince of the Sun.
Liberty Heights is a Barry Levinson movie.
It's not Pacific.
I have a really odd relationship with Louis Buñuel. And stuff like The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie is something where there's a part of me that hates that movie, and there's a part of me that loves that movie, and I'm not sure which one conquers. And that's how I feel about most of his movies.
All right. While on the subject of Liberty Heights, favorite Joe Mantegna performance? I mean, do I have to even say it? He's Ian the Shark. Come on. Airheads, of course.
My introduction to Joe Mantegna, and probably the same for most people my age, was Baby's Day Out.
That's what everybody. Yep, I can agree with that.
Also, my introduction to Joey Pants.
Also correct.
And it was interesting to me to find out how just out of nowhere a part like that was for Joe Mantegna. Is it him and Rockwell that are? He does a shitload of Mammoth. Is it him and Rockwell that are in Jerry and Tom?
Looking for it in the list.
Because I loved that movie, but it's been so long since I saw it.
What year was this?
This would have probably been the early 2000s.
Yeah, 1998 actually.
98.
And Baby's Day Out was the same year as Airheads.
Man, he had a real comedy outing there.
Yes.
I feel like Godfather 3 could have used more of him. If his character had lasted longer in Godfather 3, it would probably be a better movie.
Nice.
Is he in House of Games?
Just have to give me a year for the movie.
I want to say that's another Mammoth.
House of Games.
That would be like 84.
87,
You did.
yeah.
87.
The reason I bring it up is that's a movie I've always wanted to see, and I still haven't. It just always evaded me for some reason, and it's super super pricey. The last I looked.
Of course.
But I would love. That's something that's like something that's been at the top of my watch list for like a very long time.
All right. Josie mentions Rage and Placid Lake, 2003 coming-of-age rom-com work-life satire with Ben Lee. A younger Rose Byrne and Miranda Richardson absolutely loved it. Written and directed by Tony McNamara, who wrote the screenplays for The Favorite and Cruella. We talked about it a minute ago. Outsiders trivia, where Dowley argues with the nurse in the hospital about the whereabouts of his hospital gown. The nurse, played by the author of The Outsiders, S.E. Hinton. Interesting. Coppola received letters over the years from fans of the novel, many expressing disappointment. Several key scenes from the book were omitted from the film. But they were in the original cut, edited at the behest of the studio. Several years later, Coppola's granddaughter reading the book and about to watch the film with classmates and feeling embarrassed, she cobbled together what would eventually become his director's cut, The Outsiders, the complete novel.
Nice.
All right. While Pony Boy and Johnny are best friends in the novel and film, C. Thomas Howell recalls often not getting along with Ralph Macchio, saying he was very serious and professional. The actors pulled pranks in the hotel where they stayed while shooting the movie. And several years later, Tom Cruise introduced to someone who said he worked at the hotel. Cruise and the rest of the cast stayed during the shooting. Cruise said, first thing, I'm sorry. So happy birthday today to Elliot Page, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sophie Turner, Jordan Peele, Melanie Laurent, Kelsey Grammer, Ingenue Ellis, long day, the late Sam Peckinpah, and the late Alan Rickman. Good timing with the wrong Die Hard.
That's a list. That's a list. That's what I'm saying. Wow.
That's a huge list. The library has a book on the history of the Statue of Liberty called Let Liberty Rise. I want to ask about your favorite appearance or destruction of the Statue of Liberty in a movie. I would say either Ghostbusters, yeah, or Cloverfield.
Oh, Cloverfield's a good one.
Cloverfield's a great one. It's the movie poster.
Classic.
What was yours?
I said Planet of the Apes is a classic, but my answer is Ghostbusters 2.
Ghostbusters 2 is definitely the answer for sure, but yeah, Cloverfield's up there.
Yeah, I gotta be a basic bitch here and probably say Planet of the Apes.
That's fair.
That's the one.
Though it's animated, I love the shot of the statue in An American Tail. Trivia about the movie. Fievel is the name of Spielberg's grandfather.
I did not know that.
Did not know that, Josie.
So
Gussie,
that's the Fablemans.
Yeah. Gussie Milesheimer, a wealthy German socialite with a speech impediment, which caused her to use the W sound in place of her R's and L's. Madeline Kahn. That character's heritage, accent, and distinctive speech identical to Lily von Stupp, Madeline Kahn's character in Blazing Saddles. It was given 2 thumbs down by Siskel and Ebert, with Ebert declaring, "This is the most downbeat movie since Return to Oz." Good God.
He
Who's
should.
that? I love Ebert having a grudge against Return to Oz.
Oh, my dad. Parsnip Burger chimes in with the last couple questions. I love Rage and Placid Lake 2. Have it on DVD. Never released on Blu-ray, though. Love Serenade is also a brilliant Australian film.
If only Siskel and Ebert played the PS2 game based on An American Tail. He'd have an appreciation for An American Tail. Because the PS2 game is dog shit. I can't remember it was Davalex who made the god-awful Knight Rider and Miami Vice PS2 games.
Oh, dear God.
License shovelware.
Return to Oz, of course, has Dorothy being strapped down for electroshock. Other critics tend to agree by judging by the box office numbers. Public didn't. The downbeat movie made more than $47 million, beating The Great Mouse Detective domestically.
I think I already made my opinion clear that I'm really not into Bluth. He mostly bored me as a kid and now.
He's an acquired taste for sure.
And while we're on the topic of it being bashed, though, I love Return to Oz. I love how fucking dark and frightening it is.
Good stuff. I will talk about Land Before Time in a minute, actually. Somewhere Out There was number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Won a Grammy. One of the most popular songs from an animated feature since the 1950s. Great song, too, by the way. Fievel became the mascot for Emblemation, the animation production company, appearing in its logo until the studio's dissolution in 1997. Fievel was a part of our Woody Woodpecker's Kid Zone in a Playland, which also kind of got 86 recently to make room for something new coming to that area somewhere in the near future. So yeah. Land Before Time trivia. Judith Barcy, voice of Ducky, murdered by her father 4 months before the release of the movie.
We don't need to go into the Judith Barcy story. It's too it's too fucking sad. I can't.
I will say that her headstone included the line in the movie which she's famous for, the yep, yep, yep. Old Rooter didn't appear in the original script, added to soften the blow of the death of Littlefoot's mother. The narrator performed the voice for Rooter to underscore the fact, potentially, that both characters were wise and insightful. During development, Sarah started out as a male Triceratops called Bambo. George Lucas's idea was to make Sarah female. Interesting. Early working title was The Land Before Time Began. Littlefoot was supposed to be Thunderfoot, but there was a Triceratops from a children's book that already had the name. The only film to be co-produced by Lucas and Spielberg outside of the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, I think it works better the way it is. Thunderfoot doesn't really fit him.
Favorite fire scene in a movie?
The Wicked Witch's entrance and exit.
Oh, that's a good one.
Any scene in Backdraft?
Maybe Ladder 49.
Wicker Man.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Ashley, this is for you from Josie. She said she's on the 370s of One Piece.
Okay.
You know how much she marks out for it. Very limited knowledge of One Piece, Ashley. Who would win in a fight, Luffy or Jack Sparrow?
Probably Jack. Because he'd act stupid, but would actually sort of one-up him somehow.
And if you had to see a One Piece crossover film, would it be Pirates, Dune, Jurassic Park, or Peter Pan?
Peter Pan would fit with the more fantasy stuff.
Hmm.
Because I haven't seen anybody flying about yet in Pirates. Then again, if we're doing another like reboot thing with Pirate 6, maybe that's what happens.
Oh, goodness.
Obviously, there's enough fantasy in it. What with Bill Nighy being a squid man.
Accurate. Return to Oz, Parsnip Burger came out after Blazing Saddles. I think Return to Oz is definitely better than The Wiz, and Parsnip Burger is The Burning.
Yes, fuck The Wiz.
Tina.
To work backwards, my favorite fire scene in a movie is the first fight in Ninja Turtles, or the fight in the first Ninja Turtles when the apartment's on fire.
Oh yeah,
That's a good one. I like that.
I was gonna shout out because at first I was trying to think of burning buildings, and then I went to burning people. So
Where are you going?
That escalated quickly.
that
reminds me of the guy on fire walking through the Anchorman fight.
Brick killed a guy.
the Patricia Arquette Gandolfini fight scene in True Romance for fire. And yeah, brother, now that you brought up the Anchorman thing, somebody ruined a scene for me that I loved.
Oh no!
Still an amazing scene, but the scene is forever ruined after somebody pointed this out to me because I never really noticed it before because the scene's so amazing, I'm not really paying attention to the minute details.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember how amazing the plane crash scene is in Knowing?
Yeah.
There is a moment where we get it's like one long cut. It's fucking Cage on the bridge in the traffic jam. Then he sees the plane come down. We watch the plane crash, and then Cage runs through the carnage all in one shot. It's amazing, but there is a scene. You know how Cage is running amongst the chaos, so he's looking for somebody to help or question or something. A guy completely engulfed in flames runs by him. And Cage watches him go by and screams, "Hey!" at him. And I can't unsee that moment now. It's like, of course, Nicolas Cage would try to flag down the guy that's engulfed in flames. with simply, "Hey!"
Dang it.
AJ, for fire scenes, I'm surprised you didn't shout out the climax of The Lion King.
Oh, God, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing about the off-the-cuff answers, is the obvious ones always, you missed them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised I remembered The Wicked Witch, because it's so obvious.
Parsnip Burger says, I love Dune obsessively.
Yes.
We continue with Josie comments and questions. Showed my friend went a date with Tad Hamilton. If such a sweet... Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I love the Tad Hamilton praise, but I want to go back to fire. Brother, there's one I'm surprised you didn't mention.
What's that?
Batman Returns, when he uses the car to set the guy on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
And the build-up of the car spinning all the way around just to do that.
Yeah.
God, I'm so glad Keaton's back in the Cape, man. For anybody that wondered, the Flash trailer, yeah, sign me up.
You got your Batman, I got mine. We're all good to go.
Were you about to say another fire thing, Owen, or another Batman thing?
Yeah, Bastards.
Oh my God.
Bastards is notorious for their fire scene.
The flamethrower and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Let's throw that in there.
Having Hollywood the flamethrower, yeah.
Oh.
Okay. If a sweepstakes like Win a Date with Tad Hamilton happened in real life, which actor would do it?
Somebody scummy.
It's funny that you say that because my first thought was Leonardo DiCaprio at a high school.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
He's not an actor, but my first thought was Adam Levine. That's why I was like, it's gonna be somebody
He
scummy.
thinks he is, but he's not.
Yeah, that was a double insult there. You're not an actor and you're scummy.
I know who would do it. Who has to have the attention on him at all times? It's either Chris Pratt or Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I'm more so curious. I want to see a situation where like there's a contract stipulation that he doesn't know about, and like Tommy Lee Jones has to do it. Like I just want to imagine his grumpy face during the entire experience.
Just like he showed up to ride Men in Black years ago. I have friends that can vouch for the fact that there was not a smile on his face.
The line,
nor should there be.
His line from Man of the House would definitely come up.
Oh, God.
How can a man with so much talent smile so little?
How could the guy that played fucking Two-Face the way that he did be so serious?
God.
Because keep in mind, when was Under Siege was what, 92?
Yes.
Under Siege was close to Batman Forever. Those two performances were close together. How is that somebody that's constantly frowning in real life?
I know who should win a date with Tad Hamilton. Werner Herzog.
I would want to win that date.
AJ, with your luck, you would win, and they'd be like, sorry, we had to sub him out for Roger Avery. Hope that's okay.
No, I could think of somebody worse than that, but I ain't going there.
No, AJ, it'll be Casey Affleck, and all he wants to talk about is Manchester by the Sea.
Dear God. Tom Cruise did that with Katie Holmes, didn't he? Sponsored by the Church of Scientology. Good God. Jody said favorite fire scenes in the movie Spider-Man 1 and 2, The Incredibles. No, I don't want to think about that scene, Josie. It's the death of Jason Lee. Barton Fink.
Yeah. There is another obvious one. Like, just completely overlooked.
So, Josie's friend had you. What?
Terminator 2.
If so, the sweepstakes question. Josie's friend had your back, Chris. DiCaprio said would be the one that they would choose, but the age range is 18 to 25. No older, no younger. Wes Anderson is trying to appeal the R rating for Asteroid City. He thinks it's stupid. It's getting an R rating for one bit of nudity.
I want to see how Wes Anderson fights for something. I want to know if he's passionate or if he's very like laissez-faire about it. Like, I want to know. Does he go in dressed in a quirky costume and speak quirkily, and they're just like, okay, I want to know how this works.
Wes Anderson is Orange Cassidy, confirmed.
Does he take Bill Murray with him? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, they're attached in a case with handcuffs.
I think for the first time since maybe Bottle Rocket, I think Bill Murray's not in Asteroid City.
I don't think so.
That's wild.
Wasn't he pulled from it because of what happened?
I wasn't sure if that would make sense. I feel like the only way he would not be in a Wes Anderson movie is if he was forcibly pulled from it.
Yeah.
So, Parsnip Burger.
That's as big a hole as Jason Schwartzman not being in a Wes Anderson movie.
No, apparently he got COVID when they were doing filming, so he wasn't able to do his scenes.
Parsnip Burger brings up Food of the Gods with the giant rats being set on fire. It's going to get a lot of fire questions tonight.
Fire.
I knew there was a Beavis and Butthead reference coming. Favorite needle drops in Wes Anderson movies?
I feel like my answer is going to be from Tenenbaums. I like Everyone being the last song, honestly. That's the very first thing that comes to mind. There's the literal needle drop in Moonrise Kingdom on the beach.
You count Defoe throwing the cat out the window?
What about Defoe throwing a cat out the window?
That scene in the Wes Anderson movies.
In Grand Budapest.
In Grand Budapest.
Yeah, was there a needle drop in that scene?
No, there was a mic drop in that scene. Close enough.
I mean, there was a cat drop.
You go full Max Caster there.
I was trying to remember if there was any standout songs in Life Aquatic. I'm sure there is, but I've seen Life Aquatic like the least of his movies.
It's very like independent sounding, like it should be.
I like the distant use of the Davy Crockett song in the opening scene of Fantastic Mr. Fox when he's just like getting prepared for the day.
Maybe like the entirety of Hotel Chevalier.
Yeah.
And, you know, Star Stats, Where Do You Go To, My Lovely, and everything with that.
See, the great thing about Wes Anderson soundtracks is like it just flows so well. It's like you either like it's not you never forget it. It's just it's just part of this now. It's like don't really think about it because it's like it's just there because that's what it's supposed to do. It blends into the background so perfectly.
Yeah, his music choices are so in the fabric of his movies themselves that I don't really know that there's music in Wes Anderson movies that I listen to by itself. Like it's only like the songs in his movies I usually only know from his movies.
Let's see, Cat Stevens and Rushmore. Yeah, that's a good one. Josie says, I remember AJ said he doesn't think the Matrix needs to be R.
Yeah, I can't think of a reason. Unless the violence is just a little too over the line, but I don't think so. Like the closest thing I would think would be Mouse's death scene where he spits the blood everywhere. Feels pretty R-rated, but that's like it.
Josie's mom thought that Juno should have been rated R.
Why?
There's no and rest of that conversation. Josie, chime in. Remember when Freeform was called ABC Family and they had shows not for kids?
Mm-hmm.
Josie, I remember it was called the Family Channel. I used to watch Batman on it at 4 o'clock after school growing up.
Is that true? Freeform is ABC Family?
100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before
I
that,
never
it
knew
was
that.
just the channel.
The Family Channel, where I used to watch Batman. 4 o'clock when I got home from school. Never forget.
ABC Family is the channel that got me addicted to Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Nice. I watched that on ABC, period.
Yeah.
So that's like the Nickelodeon Nick at Night conversation. Like everything that I grew up on watching at Nick at Night, all that stuff is long gone, and now the stuff that's on Nick at Night is stuff I grew up watching, period. The Nick channels are designated to make you feel old.
Whenever I go to Nick at Night now, it's usually just Friends. They had Seinfeld for like a second, and I don't think they do anymore.
I mean, Seinfeld and Friends both have so many lucrative syndication deals that probably not. Like I honestly believe you turn the television on right now, somewhere you're going to find a Seinfeld episode, whether it's starting, ending, or in the middle of it. That's how often that show plays on television, and deservingly so, because it is the greatest TV show of all time. And no one, you can fight me on that. I don't care. Take your friend's stuff and shove it up your butthole. I'm a Seinfeld mark and proud of it. So a friend of mine, Josie says, pointed out the irony Social Network has sex and drugs, And it's PG-13. And The King's Speech is rated R and only had brief language.
Yeah, the Social Network pretty much was rated R, and you can literally see the edits in it.
Yeah.
The line still bothers me. I feel like I love him getting to tell them Sean Parker says fuck you, and the my hoodie, my fuck you flip-flops line, but I would have also loved the unedited version of Let's Get the Fucking Nerd from Armie Hammer. Because that's a really big moment for their character. That's like the turning point, the final turning point for their characters. It's weird that you can tell that it's censored.
Josie said, when I was younger, I used to love looking at the backs of movie cases to see what their rating was for. Rated R for strong sexual content, nudity, language, drug use, and violence.
Oh, there's so many fun ones.
Some of the things that movies are rated for, just blow my mind to this day.
One of my favorites is I can't remember which movie it was. Some movie was PG-13 for historical smoking.
Okay. Now, Screen Rant had 10 R-rated movies that should have been PG-13. Nebraska, The Conjuring, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Army of Darkness, 8th Grade, The Matrix, Chef, The King's Speech, Stand By Me, and Boyhood.
Stand By Me's got a lot of language in it.
I think The Conjuring's just terrifying.
I don't remember Chef being rated R. In my memory of Chef is like PG. I'm assuming a lot of these are probably just based on language.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm just looking at BBFC because I was trying to I can't remember what film it was. There was something vaguely some point that had some weird BBFC classification thing. But I've just seen apparently there's a re-release of Top Hat coming towards the end of March. It's been classified U for mild sex references and very mild comic violence. We need to go into that much detail. I get it for something that may have, violence or discrimination and strong language and stuff.
I want to get the exact wording here. The one that was always the most unique to me was 7. Let me see if I can find it here. IMDb's layout's so fucking weird now. Oh, is it not even here now? Are you that fucked up now, IMDb? That you can't even... The rating is hard to find?
No one talks about IMDb anymore, I've noticed that.
And it's something along the lines of depictions of horrific and bizarre killings or something like that. Something with a lot of adjectives.
Interesting.
I think Natural Born Killers was extreme violence and shocking images. Shocking was one that you didn't hear often.
I'm trying to find it. Where is it on the page, AJ?
What are we talking about?
What it's rated for?
It used to be with I don't even know. It's just
this site is slow as crap.
Because it's so bogged down with ads now.
Oh my god, yeah, I see shoes on the side randomly.
It doesn't count as a classification. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Rated R for grisly after views of horrific and bizarre killings.
Yeah, that's what.
Good God. Well, that's the thing.
It doesn't count as sort of the actual classification, but apparently one person was very upset with Centrinians 2. Because one of the scenes had the schoolgirls get possessed in a graveyard. One person immediately said, well, this has to be an 18 certificate.
So, that brings us to that brings us to the final bit of this that actually ties everything together. Before we continue with the rest of the chat, this series of questioning. What do you think needs to change about how the MPA rates Take a Shot? MPAA rates films.
This is a can of worms. I know my brother's got to get going if he wants to say something. This is a whole can of worms for me. I have a whole monologue I can go into with this.
God dang it.
Brother, do you
know.
have anything?
I think they just need to lighten up. Like, language is just language. It's just words. Who cares?
I
Okay.
think
Like,
if
Like
language
I
is
just
used,
like I think language is a big one. Like, but at the same time, like if the story calls for all the language, keep it. Like if it's like a gangster movie or a Tarantino movie, it's gonna feel naked without the language.
I mean, it's language contextualized as well, because if it's like Tourette's stuff, maybe to sort of like normalize it, sort of, rather than stigmatize it. Maybe that's where, depending on the level of language used, that's where you could move it to a PG-13, like with King's Speech. You know, the Tourette style sort of swearing was used to sort of cure the stammer, sort of thing. So there was like a medicinal reason for it. It wasn't just saying shit all the time for the sake of saying shit all the time.
I also think you have instances where a movie might be PG, but they bump it up to PG-13 to make it look cooler and try to make more money. And I think that can sometimes drag down a film. Just be what you are. If you're PG, you're PG.
Remember when it always feels weird when a PG movie that's not animated comes out now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's like an adult movie. Like I remember when everybody was confused at the theater when Good Night and Good Luck came out.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "How is this movie PG? What even is this?"
Dude, freaking Beetlejuice is PG.
Yeah.
It's fine. But I do got to run. I'll talk to you guys in a couple weeks.
No problem.
Bye bye.
See you, Chris. I know that like, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly got reclassified from an 18 to a 15. Because I guess because there wasn't like as much gore as you might have seen in other films, they sort of toned it back. Because you know, in that respect, it's sort of pretty similar, and that's always like an interesting situation as well. Because I've seen some sort of 12As where it's like, how is that a 12A? You know, it should be higher. But then I've seen sort of some 15s that are like, that's borderline 15. You know, it could easily be a 12. You know, going the other way. I just think context sort of everything that happens and the scenes in question need to sort of like be sort of key in the decision making for ratings. Not just, oh, you know, it's got a scene of, you know, implied sex or something. You know, just because it's implied sex, does that mean you want to push it sort of all the way to the 18? Just because it's got realistic groaning or something like that? Even though you don't actually see anything?
My thing about the rating system is I'm like what Josie was talking about, where when you had like, you know, physical cases and all that stuff, you'd kind of get obsessed over the details of like what a movie was rated and why and how long it was and like what its runtime was and what year it came out and all that stuff. So it's been so programmed in my mind how the rating system works, like what gets you a PG-13 and what gets you an R, that my mind is just programmed like that now. So like I'm not shocked by language or nudity, but if there's like a fuck in a PG-13 movie or nudity in a PG-13 movie, I react to it like, oh, they got away with that. Okay. um, I guess I get it. Nudity doesn't shock me. I guess unless depending on like who it is or what the context is. I did do. I think it's not out yet, so I still can't say what it is or who it is. But I did the focus group thing for a show that hasn't come out yet, and an actor has a full frontal nude scene, and I was not expecting that from this person. So that kind of was like, that's like in that context is when nudity shocks me, but that's about it. So yeah, it's like whether they're lenient or whether they're not, I guess I don't really care because I'm at the age where there's no reason for me to care about it because I'm not really restricted to anything by it. So it's hard for me to get passionate about like, oh, they need to really lighten up or oh, this needs to be this or that or whatever. Because I don't really care personally, but like I said, it'll get a reaction out of me when like a movie with a certain rating will get away with something. Is something that kind of sticks out to me. And I just got to mention this one more time because it apparently cannot be said enough because it's still not registering with anybody. The idea usually is that a PG-13 movie will say fuck once. And it's great when they do because it's for maximum effort or maximum effect. But the maximum is 3. That's the rule. And nobody seems to understand that. Everybody always says you can only say it one time and only one time. I literally just mentioned The Social Network, The Martian. Do you have something, Owen?
Yeah, it's the opening speech in Be Cool.
Yeah, I want to know. I didn't think Be Cool was that popular, but if Be Cool's the one that started this shit, fuck Be Cool. I think I even mentioned that when I reviewed Be Cool, when I did the versus with Get Shorty.
No. It mentions what you're saying. That yes, you can get away with saying it twice, but if you say it a third time, automatic rating change.
No, that makes it 3. 3 is the maximum. 4 will get you the R rating.
Well, okay, so it's 4 that gets the rating, but it is literally the speech in the beginning of Be Cool. Because they're talking about what could get them the R rating, and they basically mentioned that it would be 4.
But Travolta said 1. So Travolta got it wrong. Jilly Palmer got it wrong.
Yeah.
But, and this is how much this sticks out to me. There's a movie I've only seen one time. I want to say Billy Bob Thornton wrote it. It's called A Family Thing, I think. I think it had Robert Duvall and James Earl Jones. That movie's PG-13, and I think it had 4.
Interesting.
And I'm going to be honest with you, that's the only thing I remember about that movie.
I think
they got away with the coveted 4 fucks.
Well, we continue this conversation. We're going to be here all night, and that ain't happening when I got to work in the morning.
That was the end for me.
I figured that. Favorite Sutherland performances, Donald or Kiefer, and who's the better actor?
Oh, man. They're 2 different kinds of actors, honestly.
You're right.
Donald is obviously great in Ordinary People and Don't Look Now. I just mentioned this movie recently. I love Donald Sutherland as the fucking Hannibal Lecter arsonist in Backdraft.
Yeah.
You could throw the Invasion of the Body Snatchers in there. MASH. Did they say a favorite from each one, or just which one's better?
Which one is better?
Oh. Because Kiefer's got 24 by itself, and that's enough to be in competition. He goes through the fucking ringer throughout 24. Oh man. I feel like it's Donald, but I don't want to immediately give credit just to the senior. Because Kiefer's got a really prolific career and a lot of great performances. But I feel like Kiefer has, Jack Bauer forever in cement. Sutherland's got a lot of like kind of all-time performances to his name. So I'd probably say Donald just based on that, but it's kind of hard to even compare because they play totally different kinds of characters between the two of them.
Oh, by the way, hi Cassie. Parsnip Burger chimes in a family thing. Robert Duvall found out he had an African-American brother, James Earl Jones, and wanted to get acquainted with the African-American side of the family. That sounds interesting. Favorite Angelica Houston performance? I'm going to say Morticia Addams.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think I want to go there because there's so many options, but yeah, I mean, the work with her dad is obviously across the board amazing, but
sure.
You say Angelica Houston, I immediately think Morticia Addams, and I feel like that says something.
Yeah. Definitely an iconic role. Ashley, do you have an answer?
I'll probably go with Witches.
That's fair.
Yes.
So.
That's probably the best another guess based on that.
So one of her least memorable performances is probably Preeti's Honor, what she won her Oscar for, which is interesting.
Of course.
Can I go ahead and give her a shout out in Daddy Daycare, by the way, because I don't feel like anybody else is going to do that.
Yeah, that's also fair. So cool. These questions are getting interesting. Josie says, what would happen if the Wonka factory offered healthy alternatives? The Wonka vegan line.
Some corporate entity would shut them down unless they made everything super unhealthy and tried to kill everybody on Earth.
Wally?
Because you have to, I mean, you can't be a company that puts out, edible things unless you're trying to kill the world. So
part of me wants to say we'll find out in December, but I don't know whether they'll go that far.
I think they might, honestly. I guess we'll see.
They're already apparently changing Roald Dahl books to be more sort of like nice and stuff.
Yeah, this is going to work really well. If there was a crossover with Matilda, where the school goes on a field trip to the Wonka factory.
That'd be fun. I'd love to know what would Trunchbull be there, and if so, what would her comeuppance be?
Veruca Salt.
Augustus Gloop just shares the cake with the kid that's got to eat the entire cake.
Yeah, that would probably be a good one. Oh man, what is this? This is so weird. So we're gonna transition some James and the Giant Peach stuff in now, apparently, because QA's like that, ladies and gentlemen. Who would win a fight? James and the Giant Peach's centipede or the human centipede? Well, first off, Josie, the human centipede, like, the main guy, like, killed himself. So, I mean, it's like the guy in the front's dead anyway. So I have a feeling the centipede from James and the Giant Peach would not have any competition.
No, the centipede from James and the Giant Peach would see the human centipede and vomit to death.
Yes. AJ would not watch this movie, ever. So, trivia for James and the Giant Peach. The puppet used for the captain in the icy water, or the head at least, appears to be the same head that was used for Jack in Nightmare Before Christmas.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Henry Selick initially considered doing the whole film in stop motion, but decided on a blend of live action to cut down on cost. Yeah, Susan Sarandon voicing Miss Spider, married to Chris, voiced Jack Skellington, of course, in Nightmare.
I didn't even think about that, but
yeah. Miriam Margolyes and David Thewlis both appeared in the Harry Potter film series as Sprout and Lupin.
Mm-hmm.
And in the book James and the Giant Peach, Spiker and Sponge killed when the peach rolls over and crushes them, but in the movie they survive. Favorite Richard Dreyfuss performance?
What about Bob?
Yeah,
there is
Jaws.
Yeah, Jaws and the Goodbye Girl and Close Encounters and
What about Bob? Oh,
Dirty Kravitz you could throw in there. That's the thing though, is when I just straight up say what about Bob, I don't know how many people realize I'm dead serious.
no, you're 100%
And I love it. American Graffiti, I didn't even mention. Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss is one of my all-time favorite actors. If you watch our video, he's like in my top 10 actors of all time. But as far as like the conversation is endless about how comedic performances can be much harder than dramatic performances. And in What About Bob, Richard Dreyfuss gives my favorite comedic performance of all time. There's so many tiny little details in that movie that Dreyfuss does that have me just on the floor in uncontrollable laughter, no matter how many times I've seen it, which is a shitload.
like we're talking.
Collins Opus, for God's sake. Yes, of course.
You're not okay. So, for those of you that are live right now, Parsnip Burger said Mr. Holland's Opus. AJ does not have access to chat, so they said it at the same exact time. Gotta love it. All right, Spencer Reed, trivia questions. Favorite movies with a person deactivating a bomb?
Goldfinger comes to mind.
Ocean's 11. Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, the entirety of the Hurt Locker, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is it favorite scenes or favorite movies?
Favorite movies with a person deactivating a bomb. He is very specific with his questions.
I'm trying to think, what's the other one?
Because I know there's an obvious one I'm missing.
Hold on.
Oh, Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
When they have to sort of like take the nuclear core out of the missile. And it's clearly just like some vibrating thing, so when it gets really close, it's like the most tense version of Operation you've ever seen.
Oh my God. All right. We continue with more deactivating a bomb, or trying to. Cloak and Dagger, says Parsnip Burger.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Favorite kid in a movie who torments adults. Most annoying kid in a movie who you want to die.
What was the first part of that?
Favorite kid in a movie or torments adults. I gotta throw a shout out to Dennis the Menace.
Yes.
That's a really good one. And I enjoyed the movie too, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Kevin McAllister.
Yes, I feel like he's the go-to answer.
Yeah.
So the word torments is interesting because you could take it in a number of ways.
Yes.
I feel like I'd have an easier time. God, there's so many. I'm gonna blank now. Who are some of the fucking worst ones? We know, the kid from Real Steel, obviously, immediately comes to mind.
That would be the more annoying kid in a movie you want to die.
The kid in the Babadook.
I don't know if I put into Google kids you want to see die in a movie. I wonder I get put on a list or something. So I'm like not doing that.
Yeah, we might just do this from memory,
or lack thereof in this case.
The fucking David Koechner's kids in Krampus.
Oh yeah,
fuck them.
That's a good one. The kids in Talladega Nights. Ricky Bobby's kids.
Walker and Texas Ranger.
Yes.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines in that movie is Gary Cole saying, I can't remember the first part of it. The second part is, I'll put you in the microwave.
Dude, microwave, yeah.
I can't remember what the first part of it is.
I'm dancing around the answer that Josie gives, but honestly, it's definitely my go-to.
What's that?
Clifford.
Oh my god.
Martin Short. Oh my god.
The line is, shut up, you little pot licker, I'll put you in a microwave.
I'll put you in the microwave. Yeah. Josie brings that up to Spencer. Said, ever see Clifford? That totally fits the mold, and it is awesome. He goes, love that movie, Josephine. Yes, I do enjoy Clifford quite very much. Him and his little dinosaur.
I don't think I can say that I like Clifford.
I do.
But I've seen it multiple times.
Odd.
Playing into the Conan joke, the kid in the wheelchair in Mac and Me.
Yeah.
My guess is the kid dies. I don't know.
There's there's an alternate ending where he gets like blown away by the cops and the alien has to bring him back to life, and you can see it on YouTube. They like graphically shoot him. And it's fucking hilarious.
There's got to be like really bad kids movies that come to mind with an annoying kid, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
The kid in Scary Movie 3.
That kid has a horrible go throughout that movie.
I know. But considering how I feel about that film, he deserves it.
Spencer asked, favorite movie with a dinosaur? Negating Jurassic Park.
One more shout out to a kid that I hate, that little fucker in Bloody Birthday. Dinosaur that's not Jurassic Park?
Mm-hmm. Dinosaur movies.
Let's say, are they dinosaur movies or do they just feature
Is
like
it-
does
is it
the Tree of
cheating
Life
by-
count?
Is it cheating
Yeah.
by saying Toy Story?
Oh yeah, Toy Story.
I'm gonna go with the Flintstones.
Okay.
Josie said, "Oh, this is an interesting one." I know the Super Bowl was last weekend, but if you were to make your own, take a shot, Super Bowl commercial, what product would it be for, and what actors would you cast?
Oh god, I don't know. I'd have to settle for TV spots for movies. I can't get very creative with that. I'm stuck on this dinosaur question. I gotta.
Hold on, let's see if I have a better answer than Flintstones. Movies with dinosaurs.
The Ice Age movies.
Oh,
Here.
yeah,
Kong.
yeah. There's some really crappy ones too.
Yeah, the first. I know I just bashed Bluth, but the first Land Before. Actually, the whole Land Before Time series, even all those like the 20,000 straight to video ones,
Mm-hmm.
most of them are fine.
I like Land Before the Time.
I'd probably have to go with one of the Kongs.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Flintstones because I'm not seeing any other good options here. There's a lot of straight to DVD stuff on here that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot bowl. My dad. Parsnip Burger says the default Home Alone, but I like the Good Son more. Yeah, great. Trope the corn, kids to die.
I don't know what my TV spot would be for the big game. But I just want it to be Matt Damon going, crypto's a fucking scam. Just
Somebody's gonna publicly roast him for that. I'm not sure who it's gonna be. Kimmel. There's your opening, Kimmel. Do a bit about that.
do that at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Can I just do a Super Bowl commercial having Penn and Teller promoting AEW?
Sure.
Don't care how it works. I feel like Danhausen and Orange Cassidy need to be involved with it.
Was it Kimmel
I
or
feel it'd be
Fallon?
amazing.
Was it Kimmel or Farron that had the infamous bored ape talk with Hilton?
I think that was Fallon.
Yeah.
It's such a fucking Fallon thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive it was him.
I want to see Teller like interact with Danhausen, and I want to see Penn interact with Orange Cassidy, and that just make me so happy. I don't care if it makes no sense at all.
I love that we're having like 3 different conversations at once.
Yes.
I can follow everything. I hope everybody else can.
I'm sure everyone can that's still joining us, whether live or in archive. Parsnip Burger says Theodore Rex and mentions Ole and Madonna would be cast. Trying to stay up on all the chat messages. We got plenty of them. Angelic. Oh boy. Spencer chimes in. Angelica Houston's Grand High Witch should kidnap me and make me a witch.
Uh-oh.
Giddy up.
No more
Spencer
Pacific Heights for you.
Yeah. More movies need. You go back to Pacific Heights, Spencer. More movies need to introduce witches. I love magic and evil people in movies.
Dude, I was just having this conversation with my friend. We were talking about the movie Witchcraft from 1964, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like there needs to be more witch movies because they're so fucking atmospheric. They're like the perfect sort of like seasonal thing, and they're so rare. It feels like.
I mean, I'm not a witch, but I was controlled by one via mind control and drinking the witch's brew during Halloween Horror Nights last year. So I have a little bit of knowledge of witchcraft. That sounded so horrible, like I rehearsed it or something, and I swear to you I didn't. I don't care about Rotten Tomatoes, but a lot of people do. Lowest Rotten Tomatoes score movie that you loved. I don't even know what the scores of anything are because I don't go to that site.
Yeah, I do not know that without doing a whole lot of research.
Yeah, and highest Rotten Tomatoes score movie you hated.
That might be like a homework thing for our next Q&A.
I would say like something like Everything Everywhere All at Once or Avatar or these movies that I'm sure have high Rotten Tomatoes scores. Everybody loved it, but I just couldn't get into it. Oh, we talked about Star Trek earlier on. Spencer Reed apparently was paying attention, just like a good chat should. Favorite Star Trek movie and the worst one?
The worst one is the first one.
Yeah, 100%.
The motion picture is worse than the 5th one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Khan might be the best.
Yeah, I think 2 is. There's a lot of good ones. You would think the series would be riddled with shit, but there's a lot of good ones.
I do like me some Mr. Rourke, good sir. He is a heck of a. I like Generations. I know it's probably not a common thing, but like Generations, I really enjoyed. I love the mix of first gen and next gen.
Yeah,
I love that, especially their fight. Oh man, I had those action figures too. I told you I went all in for a while, and then I just stopped.
I want to say the worst is Beyond because I don't remember it. I just remember Idris Elba being in it. That's all I remember.
Yeah, Beyond was not great. And I feel like I'm in a minority now. I loved Into Darkness.
Into Darkness is fine.
Even though maybe that's because it was basically a remake of Wrath of Khan, but still, I thought it was a really good remake of it.
Yeah, I liked. Honestly, the Star Trek movies are not bad.
No.
They're not as memorable as like the Star Wars movies, but they're not supposed to. Completely different genre.
I think the motion picture, the first one and the fifth one, The Final Frontier, I think are the only ones that I would say I like don't like
Yeah.
that I can think of. The ones the middle group, I guess you could call it, the next generation group. And by the way, I guess I should point this out while we're having this conversation. My only knowledge of Star Trek is the movies.
Yeah, same.
I've not seen a single episode of any variation of any of the shows. I have only seen the movies, and that's what I'm basing this on. So,
sure.
Yeah, so that's why I had to say just the middle section, the Patrick Stewart section, are the least memorable.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember disliking any of them.
I like First Contact, which I think was 8. Wasn't enamored that much by Insurrection, and Nemesis was relatively strong as well.
Yeah.
I feel like Nemesis lately, at least, I would think Nemesis's claim to fame now is being early Tom Hardy, being like the first Tom Hardy sighting for a lot of people who don't remember Black Hawk Down because that cast is so fucking big.
I mean, Parsnip Burger likes 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think 4 might be my second favorite after Wrath of Khan.
Star Trek at SeaWorld, yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, because you would think it'd be a bad idea to have them like in present day, but it worked. It was really interesting and like threw a wrench into it.
I liked it.
In a good way.
I think that knocks that out. Boom. All that trivia is gone. Josie has a buy one, rent one, lose one. Movie set in Oregon.
I was gonna say I don't want to like be in like a rush or anything, but we've got to almost be done, don't we?
I am at the tail end of the questions. Yes.
All right. I'm gonna write it down so I don't have to keep asking you what they are.
I'm gonna be running tonight because I don't think I have time. Nah, it happens. Buy one, rent one, lose one. Oregon Films, Cuckoo's Nest, Goonies, Stand By Me, Kindergarten Cop, speaking of whales, Free Willy, Elephant, Drugstore Cowboy, My Own Private Idaho, Overboard, and Bandits.
Ooh.
Man.
Well, this might be sacrilege because I didn't really grow up with it.
Same.
The most I mean it's a decent movie, but the most expendable one to me is Free Willy.
Oh, never mind. I am not on that boat with you, sir.
There's like half of this list is like Van Sant.
I did it, so there.
You're gonna ask the Goonies.
You're right. Because I didn't.
Which is not happening here.
No, dude, I just didn't connect to it like everybody else did. It's fine. It's just the expendable one of this group.
Well, it's abundantly clear to me my top one is Elephant.
I'd love to be able to say these things, but I can't.
And I love Bandits is so like I don't know if I can say underrated. Just nobody really mentions it, and it's great. It's one of my favorite Billy Bob performances. I did a Van Sant marathon like a couple of years ago, and I forgot how great Drugstore Cowboy is. It is fantastic, but all the other Van Zants aside, because I picked Elephant, but it'd have to be. Well, fuck. This is a great list, man. Because any other list, Stand By Me will be at the top. But I think my second one has to be Cuckoo's Nest, right?
That's fair.
And then I'm axing Free Willy.
Don't worry, I'll bring it back to life. Ashley, what do you got?
Yeah, with that list, I'd probably get rid of Free Willy as well. Although I am sort of tempted with Overboard because I'm not enamored by that, mainly because of the remake that came from it.
And the plot. I mean, I like the movie, but the plot's fucked up.
Yeah. One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest would be the buy, and I'd probably rent Stand By Me.
I hate doing this because I have to, but I have to go with what I grew up with, and I didn't grow up with a lot of these movies. Yeah, Goodbye to the Goonies. I'd rent Kindergarten Cop,
Nice.
and I would buy Family because to this day, I love that movie so much, and I love the Jackson "Say You'll Be There" song that is the credit music of the movie. And I remember leaving the theater in tears hearing that song when I remember watching it. So I was such a mark for SeaWorld. And I was like, oh, but oh, and if you like this movie, then you don't like SeaWorld. I was like, no. This was the first time I remember doing this without doing this. All right, Chris is gone, but AJ and Ashley, you get the mission of the come up with a movie.
I can't. I'm. What is it?
So Josie, basically, we talked Whose Line earlier. Josie's created our improv game of the Popcast every single week, and it's a time travel movie with Michael Cera, Zoe Kravitz, Craig T. Nelson, Mary Elizabeth Monstrantonio, Don Cheadle, Louis Guzman, Sarita Chowdhury, and Daniel Stern.
I'm trying to remember the last time I saw Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio in a movie.
Yes.
Was it The Perfect Storm? Because The Perfect Storm's over 20 years old now.
I think so, because I don't recall anybody recently. Oh, we're taking it home, my friends.
I am not good at these.
Josie, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna save this question for the next QA show that Chris is a part of, so we can make sure we ask this. I was trying to ask this one earlier, but I was looking for questions that were Chris related, and I didn't see anything that was specific. Completely forgot about the improv game.
Yeah, so, he's usually the one that has these questions covered.
So we're gonna leave that question. I'm gonna actually put a pin in it, and we're Ashley note that.
I would say because I would say something sort of Planet of the Apes-esque, but just like in space on a space station, where somehow the crew of the space station has ended up in sort of somewhere else in time for a wormhole or something.
Michael Cera being dumbfounded in the trailer, wearing his helmet and everything, just with the goofiest look on his face.
Well, no, I was going to say Cheetah would probably be the lead. Nelson.
No, he doesn't. No. Sarah's not the lead. He just has that scene, and Louis Guzman is the person he turns to. And then you see Daniel Stern in the background, because I can imagine these three working together in a scene in the movie. Especially if it's a time travel space movie.
Part of me feels like, though, that Sarah would be more of a scientist person, so it would be less of a dumb look. It would be sort of more quizzical and actually trying to work it out, sort of thing.
I think Zoe Kravitz is the scientist.
It annoys me that I can't answer these because this is literally what I do. When I'm writing my scripts, I cast them so that I have as clear an image in my head as possible while I'm writing it. But that's over the span of like months and years. Sure. Doing it on the fly feels impossible to me.
We're going to put a pin on this question and we're going to answer it next time. So QA show on the final day in February, we'll answer it.
So, we'll try
I'll save
have it first thing next week.
Spencer Reed says the Grand High Witch is misunderstood. That's all. Okay. Parsnip Burger had a question. But first, Birdman had high reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but I hated it. I really liked Birdman, but after watching Whiplash, I probably would have liked it more if we would have watched it in the opposite order.
Birdman, I wasn't crazy about Birdman the first time we saw it, but it grew on me.
Yeah.
My favorite scenes are the Norton scenes by far.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to keep that. Okay. Parsnip Burger's question. I know you guys don't like Gold Derby. Yes.
True.
Who is a film critic you admire or would pay attention to, and do you like any other YouTubers who do film reviews, or do you watch any?
I do not watch any other YouTubers, and I don't want it to sound like what it sounds like. It's just, I don't know if it's, I guess because I have such a, once I watch something, I know so much what my opinion is. Just, well, I don't want to say the opinions of others are worthless to me, but I don't think a lot of YouTubers have anything in sight. Most of the, when I think of you, and maybe I'm just not watching the right ones or I haven't seen the right ones, but more often than not, it seems like most YouTubers were born out of the CinemaSins way of looking at movies.
Roll credits.
And it's like everybody wants to have the viral opinion. And it seems like they're more focused on that than saying anything worthwhile. Like a lot of people say this is why they prefer YouTubers that do this kind of thing to like the stuff that I do, where it's just, I have like bullet points of what I want to say and then I'll just throw everything out there. The way you can tell a lot of YouTubers are they've written things beforehand or are just reading their own scripts. Just does not feel like there's any passion in it. Like I get being prepared. But like I said, when you're trying to get an opinion out of something like movies that should incite passion, basically reciting something that you've written out is not the kind of movie opinion I would want to hear, because I wouldn't get anything. It would feel scripted, because it literally is. Even if it's what they actually feel, I don't feel like you're going to get the passion from that kind of thing. So YouTubers in general are just something that I don't pay attention to. Living critics, I could name maybe two. But I don't really, most of the critics that I read are dead now. Yeah.
I don't watch I used to in the day watch a lot of the Doug Walker, Brad Jones stuff, and I stopped many moons ago. Basically, weirdly enough, lately I've been more into like the music critics instead of movie critics, like Todd in the Shadows and Sean Fay Wolf and like Social Tunes. Like, just I like listening to like music reviews, but movie reviews I kind of steer clear from that, really, honestly, because I don't think it's bias. I think legitimately AJ is probably the most insightful critic I've heard since I've been around this earth. That's not like Siskel and Ebert, things like that I would have watched back in the day. Richard Roper to a lesser extent, but most everybody else comes off looking like Jay Sherman to me. So
I think another problem is this kind of continues off the CinemaSins thing, where it's like everybody either wants everything to be the best movie ever, or they want it to be one of those bad movies that are so bad they become memes, like Morbius and shit like that.
Yeah.
And there's just no in between anymore. There's no fucking nuance whatsoever. for more often than not, it's like people just want to hate everything. There's literally channels devoted to just, hey, this is how shit every movie ever is.
Yeah.
That's why I like, you mentioned Brad Jones.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in a really long time, but I did always love The Cinema Snob because the jokes that he made were funny, and more often than not, they were bad movies. But you can tell, even though he was making all those jokes about them, he loved the movies.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's like that's the kind of balance that I like, as far as like people that try to do it comedically. But yeah, so like I said, I haven't watched that in it's probably been at least a couple of years since I've watched The Cinema Snob, but that's the only thing I can think of that I think he's still making those. That's the closest thing I can think of to somebody that's like happening now.
Right.
The only ones I sort of keep an eye on is Red Letter Media, because you get a mix of sort of, you know, the bad stuff, but then they also do the review stuff where they go in depth on, you know, doesn't even have to be like a classic, like a good film. It's just, you know, something that they want to talk about and whatever. And then when they do half in the bag, the sort of, you know, modern stuff reviewed, they sort of are honest and say, you know, whether they like it or they hate it. They're not sort of massively biased or skewed, really. You know, it's their own personal opinion. They're the only sort of I classify proper YouTubers. There's two films.
I hear a lot about them, but I just can't generate interest, I guess. Because another thing I didn't mention also was the whole idea of doing this myself, doing the movie reviews, is once I've seen a movie and then done, because when I do what I do here, those reviews are like 15 to 20 minutes, so I try to go through everything that I can. So by the time I'm done reviewing a movie, I'm basically burnt out on that movie, so I don't seek out any other things like that. So that's another thing that plays a part.
It's like the ones that have to keep watching the same clips over and over again because they're integrating clips of the movie, the TV show, the song, because if they hate it, they're going to hate it even more by the time they get done editing everything.
Yeah, or when the opposite happens. The first example I can think of that comes to mind for recently would be Bodies, 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 where I was so passionate about that movie that the more I talked about it in the video, the more excited I got for it. But rather than doing what a lot of people probably do, which is, okay, now that I've got my opinion out, I want to hear other people's opinions. My go-to wasn't, oh, I want to hear other people's opinions. My go-to was, I want to watch the movie again.
Sure.
Which is what I would do before I would seek out like YouTubers and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Parsnip Burger, and we're getting ready to take it home now. Parsnip Burger says, I don't sub to too many besides you guys. He does like the Film Drunk and the Oscar Expert and Brother Bro. Concerning that question, I can't stand Scott Nance, the guy from Perry Nemiroff's channel. He's dying on the bridge. Top Gun will win.
Oh, that's a bummer.
That Perry...
I got one video recommended to me for the Oscar Expert, and I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's... First off, it's always painful for me to watch anything Oscar-related because, like... I guess it's the same thing, because when we do it here, it's like I said, if you want a reason, like, to just jump into traffic or jump out of a window, go look at an Oscar discussion on Reddit. It is the fucking worst thing ever. There's so much uninformed shit said with such confidence. It's fucking astounding. That's just Reddit in general for you, or anything on the internet in general for you. But one Oscar Expert video was recommended to me, and it felt very sort of manufactured in that sense of making something that most people wouldn't find exciting and trying to make it exciting. Where, like, when we do the Oscar stuff here, we're just talking.
Yeah.
the Oscar expert video that was sent to me was a lot of screaming, and it's like I get what you're doing, and if that's genuine passion, that's great. But just pretty much everything on YouTube just is not genuine to me. Like it's I get so fucking cynical when it comes to YouTube because it's like everything feels so fucking fake and manufactured.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's a me problem.
And that's where I can bring up my film critics. Because Mark Kermode and Peter Bradshaw, okay, they do write-ups for The Observer and The Guardian, respectively. But Kermode had his radio show for like 2 decades on the BBC, which, as of earlier, about 12 months ago, went sort of got bought by Sony, I guess, if you want to call it that. They went independent and are doing their own stuff there, but just, I guess, following on from like what they did with the BBC stuff, their reviews also get put up on YouTube, like with them in the studio sort of talking with each other about it, him and Simon Mayo. And then Bradshaw does weekly vlogs usually, but I pay most attention to him when he's actually at Cannes and he talks about the films he saw that day, sort of thing, and sort of like goes into the nitty gritty of like what it, you think it's all like razzmatazz and all fancy at the premieres, and sometimes he gets dressed up in, you know, black suit and tie and whatever, but then other times it's just him in a regular shirt just going to a thing, and it just is boring and mundane.
Yeah, that's one more thing I wanted to add was the idea of things feeling scripted and there being manufactured excitement, where it's like when you watch this stuff, it's like people are doing a show or they think they have to do a show. When I'm doing mine, I'm basically just trying to talk like you're in the room with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you were just literally sitting across from me and we were just talking, that's how I do my reviews. That's why I'm not, you know, yelling and screaming unless something's like really gotten to me, for better or worse.
True. And last comment, Josie. I just like the way this is worded. Josie said, "When I was younger, I wanted to be Juno. Not pregnant, but the same attitude and headstrong like goals."
That makes sense.
I just love the way it's worded too.
Oh, Parsnip also touches on the Perry stuff you were gonna bring up.
I already did.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I went through everything. Yeah, this Perry's Picks gimmick that I see on like Noovie before the AMC movies, and then they do this Maria Menounos gimmick with like bringing this random YouTuber on and asking them about movies, and they ask them about like obviously popular stuff that everybody knows, and then asking like an Oscar related question, they didn't get it right, and I was like, well, if you're supposed to be the movie expert, you need to know about all facets of movies, not just what's popular there, Steve Dave. So
I don't know who Perry Nemiroff is, but she keeps popping up in my life.
yeah,
because I think is it Gold Derby she comes from?
I don't know if it's Gold Derby, but I do know she's from the internet, and I do know that I see her every time I go to a movie at AMC.
Yeah, she's on the rolling stock at Regal as well.
Oh, so Perry's Picks is on Regal too.
Yes.
Nice.
And I was talking about those SAG interviews that they've been doing. They did a roundtable for the comedy actresses today, and she was the moderator for that. So she's also a SAG member, apparently. So I don't know. She's everywhere. She seems nice. I'm just pointing out that she's everywhere.
The reviews that I sort of hate more so is the ones that don't even give a rating, because you can clearly tell they've just been written to basically be puff pieces. And even if it's a bad film, they'll just say, oh, you know, maybe it's something you want to try. but not actively saying it's good, because if they did that, they probably get sued.
It's not Gold Derby. Parson and Burger says. Grace Randolph is also super loud. Hater voice. She's just somebody I see all the time. Parsnip Burger. She's not outrageous or anything. Apparently, she has that YouTube channel doing Oscar predictions with that Scott Nance guy that Parsnip Burger brought up. Apparently, they came from Collider, potentially.
Oh God.
And we're gonna end with this. Josie asked the question at 6:40 tonight. Parsnip Burger, ever see computer award tennis shoes? Response: yes, I love it, Josephine. That's the end of the show.
We ended this Q&A went almost 3 hours, and we end on Perry Nemiroff and the computer award tennis shoes. That's interesting.
That's what we do here on the Popcast Network.
There's something else we can talk about. I don't want it to end like that.
No, it's over. We've gone way.
I like the weirdness of ending it there.
Yes, we've gone way too long. I can't even run tonight now, but an attempt was made. Yeah. Chat, you're great. You really are. Thanks again for keeping our QAs alive every single time that we do them. Pop the Question was just kind of an idea that it was like, well, Chris named it, but I mean, doing a QA show just was something that seemed like a good idea at the time, and it has continued to be a good idea every single time we've done it. Some really fun stuff we've answered and questions. So thank you, everyone, live or in archive, 100%. And we'll be back on Sunday. But first, Ashley can be found on Twitter at AshIsMyNameUK.
Indeed.
AJ, of course, go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah.
Yeah, we're going.
There's at least
I want to finish
two, there's at
or
least,
9.
There's at least 2 McDonald's snack stashes.
Jeez, I got to change the schedule again. We'll get there.
Yeah, they'll go up whenever.
Eventually. AJ, of course, just like Keith Richards, cannot be killed by conventional weapons and also cannot be found in any form of social media, but feel free to ask him a question every time we do a QA show if you want to join in and have some fun with everybody that chimed in tonight, like Spencer Reed and Brian, Arston Berger and Josie, and everybody that lurked tonight. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate that. AJ content forthcoming. We've got the English to be finished up, as well as Santa Clauses coming up in the near future.
Are you getting tired of saying that yet?
We'll get there. And then a plethora of voices content and sip and snack content to lead us into 2023 movies. Fill in the blanks. And we'll finally be ready to move on. So many good things. At Soro and Disney is how you find me on Twitter. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight. Sunday night programming note. We're going to be talking SAG and PGA. That'll be Ashley leading the show with AJ as well. So that's going to be a 2-person team, because I'll be at Ring of Honor that night, because the Ring of Honor tapings are Saturday and Sunday. So I will not be here for SAG, which means I'll have to get pizza for the Spirit Awards instead. Just change things up a little bit.
The link for the SAG stuff as well will go up early, like before the ceremony. But keep in mind, like within minutes of that ceremony finishing, the aim will be to go live, because I don't know when the SAG show is even starting or when it's finishing. So
I hope it keeps the 8 to 10 time slot.
I hope it's 2 hours, but
probably.
knows?
I'll be at ROH till 10, and then I got to work in the next morning. We're going to predict the Independent Spirit Awards on Monday. And to end the month, got another QA show for you guys. We're going to recap the Independent Spirit Awards on the 4th. I may or may not have already seen All Quiet on the Western Front before then. If not, I'll be watching it on the 6th when we officially predict the Oscars. Time to be announced. And then we're going to be doing my Popcast Movie Club pick the next day, that Tuesday of the Great White Hype. And then, of course, we have the Oscar ceremony on the 12th, which we'll recap, and then we'll throw a bonus QA in there on the 13th. That's your schedule. And don't forget, stream all the water park songs on all the various forms of media that you can. And in the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.